Sometimes the world just needs a hero to help cut through all the noise.
Well, now you have two.
Good morning, good evening, and good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to yet another episode of your Heroes of Noise podcast. I'm one half of this dynamic duo. My name is Steve.
What he said, only now it's me saying it. What's going on, everybody? My name is Dan. I think it's going to be a hoot this week. That's what I'm going with, Steve. It's going to be an actual hoot.
It's going to be an actual hoot?
An actual hoot, not a literal hoot. It's going to be an actual hoot. Like, we're going to have a hoot today. Everyone listening, prepare for a hoot.
I can't wait because we have a lot of things to talk about that we've seen, and we finally get a chance to talk about it today.
Yeah, we've been kind of lagging on that. I admit it. Sorry.
Hey, look, you're with your DDP yoga. You've been kind of out of it a little bit. You know, you're in the transcendental mood.
You know, I've been working on me. Been trying not to work so much on this as much as me lately, Steve. I'm feeling good about myself.
I like that, dude. I like that.
Self-preservation is what it's all about, sir.
I knew you were going to get into that reading situation. You read anything good?
No, I haven't read things, Steve. But in my defense, So what we're talking about is Steve turned me on to this app, and I don't remember what it's called now because I'll explain why in just a second. Libby, thank you very much. So all you need is a library card. You go on, choose your local library, and you can choose books from them, right? Digital books. Mm-hmm. I'm confused, Steve.
Yes.
Everything that you've recommended to me so far, right?
Yes.
Has been checked out. Totally fine. I get that. But it's a digital book. How's that happening?
I think they only keep a certain amount of digital rights for every library. Like as many, say that the local Fresno bookstore has 2 copies of that book, then they have 2 digital copies of that book too. And so you got to wait until those digital copies are returned. I think that's the only way Libby could get the rights to free digital copies. Is like every library that has a certain amount gets I know friends of mine have borrowed their friends in LA's library card, and they're like, you never really have to wait.
Oh, that makes sense.
You borrow someone from LA for the LA library. You borrow their card, and you're like, yeah, you're fine. And then you could put up to like 5 library cards in one Libby app. So you could have like a bunch of library cards. A lot of people just don't wait. And I was like, I'll just wait because I'm not going to normally I'll read like 2 books and then get new ones. I'll always have one in the queue ready to rock and roll.
What was the one that I got? And I'm like, of course I get this one. And I pick it only because it's like the only thing out of this list of like, what's the category? Is it self-help? Is it self-improvement?
Sure, we can
what
go
is it? Self-improvement,
even
right?
though I hate that, yeah.
Let's go self-improvement. I think that sounds
there we go.
better.
Yeah.
But yeah, there was a whole bunch, but for some reason they're all checked out. The only one that I could find was a book, and I go, I bet you this is the one. This is it. Click on it. It's called Unfuck Your Mind.
Interesting. How was it?
Or is it Unfuck Yourself? Something like that. There's a whole bunch of Unfuck series. I don't know. It was just kind of like, to me, it sort of felt like the Cliff's Notes of something, or like Self-Therapy for Dummies or something like that. So I didn't pick it. I chose not to read it.
Okay.
I'm like, I don't like the way you're pandering to me. You know what I mean?
That's what it is. And I think and also it just like once you start reading certain authors, there's going to be certain people that you just like. You're like, I'm going to get everything that this person does. And so that's a lot of ways that I do it. Like there are authors that I'm just like, oh, I'm going to get anything that they do. I'm going to get because they write in my I need to not, you know what I need to stop doing is just don't look up their beliefs.
You do a lot of background checking, dude.
I do.
I mean, I guess that's a good thing, but it's a lot of extra time.
Well, here's all I do. Like say, hey, you should read John Smith. I'm like, cool, I'm going to check him out. And I'll go into Google and put John Smith racist. And as long as nothing really comes up, I'll go ahead and but you'd be surprised at how many things they're like, you do know this person is virulently racist. I'm like, oh, man. Yeah, dude, it sucks. It sucks.
Everyone's a little bit racist these days, it seems.
I mean, most people are like a lot of people are a lot racist. Like a lot.
Yeah, it wasn't a justification. It was just more of an observation. It just seems that way to me. Yeah, it's called Unfuck Your Brain, ladies and gentlemen. I thought I would show. It's written by Faith Harper, PhD.
Hey!
PhD decided to write a book called Unfuck Your Brain. This doesn't sit right with me. I feel like they're pandering to me, Steve.
I don't think so, because recently I read an article saying how actually, the smartest people in the world curse, and it's actually good to do so.
Well, I think I prove that every week on this show, Steve, but
Dude,
that's not the point.
Intelligent. You are.
That is not the point of what we're talking about. Of course, let's all acknowledge it. Okay, let's move along. But no, that's not what I'm talking about. I'm just saying, I feel like this is something where it's like, okay, here's a good example.
Yes.
DDPY, for instance, okay? Mm-hmm. Big fan of it. I love it. It's changing my life around, and I'm fully on board with this. However, there is this huge element to DDPY that it's like, yeah, I see what you're doing, sir, and good on you, but I get what you're doing. Gail noticed this too. So what it is, and by the way, I'm not talking down about DDPY yoga. It's not the case, but this is what I've noticed, is that they basically take the essentials of yoga, right? Where you have things, and I'm not a yoga person, or I can't wax poetically about actual any kind of yoga. Bikram yoga, I think is what it's called, or something like that. I can't wax on that stuff. But what I'm referring to is like the sun salutations and the downward dogs and the happy baby pose and the star pose and all that kind of stuff, right? He just takes all of these things and then he just kind of like mans them up a little bit. So like there's a pose called warrior pose, right? Yeah. He put road warrior pose on it. See what I'm saying? It's just stuff like that. Like it's like, I'm gonna take yoga and just add some balls to it. You know what I mean? But I kind of get it though. Here's why.
Okay.
Now I see through this, and I'm willing just to kind of roll my eyes at it. Like seriously, there is, I think with any kind of instructional exercise video, because they want to give you motivation over a video. You start memorizing the shit they say, but also they have to turn it up a little bit more. They got to turn it up to 11 to sell you. I've always noticed that. There was this one way back in the day, I bought something called 8-minute abs, and it actually worked, but it was the cheesiest damn thing ever. So I just think it has to do with the way that these things translate to a video form, right? But I think what it is that it's for, well, I think it's for guys, really, because I can't see women doing this, but I see this as, like, this is yoga, but we're going to put some balls on it so that way the guys feel like they're not doing something, like they're doing something more manly. Do you know what I'm saying?
Oh, yes.
That's what it is. And it works. I mean, that's the thing, is if it didn't work, I would probably be like rolling my eyes at it. But it works, dude. Like I can wring my damn shirt out every time I'm done.
That's a good thing. I mean, look, I'm very curious as to why you chose that instead of normal yoga.
It was a suggestion, actually, from Johnny Bucks. Johnny does it.
Yeah, boy.
The thing is that like this does cater to women too. I just think that it kind of puts that finish on it, because it just allows people to feel like, oh, I'm not doing some girly shit. You know what I mean? I'm not putting on yoga pants. I mean, I know that's totally what it is. And you know what? Bravo to him for making it work. But yeah, the Unfuck Your Brain is like that too. It's like, you know what? I'm going to write a book. It's going to be a self-therapeutic book, a self-improvement book. But there's probably a lot of people out there, probably guys, just guessing, that are like, that shit's not for me, man. That's for the weak. You know what I mean? That's like that's weak sauce shit. Like my mind is strong. It's a machine. I shouldn't have to be reading books like this to improve myself. I should be able just to do it all by myself because of these gigantic balls I got right here, right? But that's Absolutely. Not the case. So what they do is they just put, hey, let's put Unfuck Your Brain in it. And it's like, oh, hey, that's a book I can relate to. Do you know what I'm saying? So there's probably
it's true.
Yeah, there's probably some really good, valuable information in that. But I feel like perhaps that's not the right way I want to go about it, being that I already see through the veil. I see behind the curtain.
Yeah, I think once you, I think the further you get, I think the deeper you're going to get into the actual foundations of it. You'll probably go deeper and deeper, and soon you're just going to be going with the actual foundation. And I'm very eager to see how this changes your life. Like it already has, and so I'm like, the deeper you go, the more it's going to change your life. For sure. And I look forward to, I mean, are you thinking about having maybe a yoga area in the back, or no?
What do you mean a yoga area in the back?
Like a place where you can kind of focus and kind of get into the zone where if everyone's in the house, you could be like, I'll just go to the yoga area in the back.
No, I don't think I'll have a designated yoga area as you're putting it. But no, for me, it's pretty much right in front of the television with a yoga mat. That's what I do. Because you got to dig the toes. I always wondered why with the yoga mat, you got to dig the toes into it, man, to like firmly plant your feet and establish balance.
That's really good, dude. I like that. I like what you're doing, man. I think that this is really good. I really do think that this really, and I'm sure that everyone that's listening right now thinks this is very good for a person's life.
Well, thank you. My most like surprising thing that I've done, which is it sounds more pathetic than it actually is, but I think the thing that I'm most surprised about is how easily I just went, you know what? No alcohol. Done.
Yeah.
It's weird. I don't think that I'm done completely. Like I want to do it in a social fashion, but being real, I think COVID kind of fucked me up a little bit because it gave us that get out of jail free card just to booze it up inside the house.
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
And
sure.
I will admit, much like everyone in my neighborhood and around neighborhoods around the country, like our garbage cans were a lot more clangy, clank, 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 when it was time to throw the garbage because everyone was boozing it up. I think I kind of fell into that a little bit. I started using it as a crutch. Oh, I'm tired, but I'm not really that sleepy. I'll have a beer, that kind of stuff. And then I just started noticing it like, ooh, COVID, what are you doing to me? Putting on the pounds. Uh-oh. Did we lose you?
All right, back to it.
Are you on your Wi-Fi?
No. I didn't. That was my fault because I got an alert from school and I pushed to say, get that alert out the way. And I swiped up. I swiped away Skype.
Number one reason, ladies and gentlemen, why an established podcaster of 4 years should not be podcasting off of his phone when he has a MacBook Pro in front of him. Just saying. Sure.
I like to, I carry the mic around. I carry the mic around, you know, and so I can walk around the house.
Yeah, because that's what you need to be doing when you're... The fuck, man? Why don't you read one of those books about focus and sitting still?
Actually, it's good to walk around when you're trying... Anyway.
Yeah, all the DJs do it.
Every
narrator of an audiobook prefers to do a jog while they're recording.
I would love to jog if I was recording.
Jesus Christ. I'm done with you, Steve. Really, I'm done. Good night, everyone.
So you think, back to that, you think that people have stopped drinking a lot during COVID?
I don't know what anyone's doing outside of myself because I'm basically in my own bubble. I'm saying that I think that it got to me to where, like I said, it gave me that get out of jail free. Like basically, go ahead, just do it as much as you want. And I was drinking I was drinking more than I've ever drank in my life during the COVID season, as I'm calling it. And I just started looking at myself. I'm like, ooh, this isn't good. Waking up, not feeling real great. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Spending extra money. And I'm not like knocking drinking or anything like that. I'm just saying, for me, I think I just had to take a step back and go, oh, okay, I see a pattern happening here. And I've never, ever had that issue before. So I don't know if it was like I don't want to be like dramatic about it, but was it like, am I on the road to like becoming an alcoholic or some shit like that? I had to kind of just chill. And I went, you know what? I'm just going to take a week off and see what happens. Now I'm on 2 weeks. Now I'm going to be on 3 weeks. And it's not, I know that sounds crazy to most people are like, yeah, I drink maybe 3 times a year. But for someone like me, I'm telling you, it was becoming an issue. I have an addictive personality. And I'd brought it up before and to other people. And I just felt like, you know what? This is the time to stop for a while and chill. I'm going to wait until I actually have a social situation to have some beers. Maybe a holiday. You know what I mean? Maybe after COVID.
You're going to get blitzed accidentally because you're going to be used to being able to drink a bunch of oh, dude, it's going to...
Don't think that I didn't recognize that at all. Yeah, that's going to be the problem too. Is I'm going to have to have like Gail with me or something to regulate my ass because I'll be like, I can still do this. And then the next thing I know, I'm throwing up all day.
Dude.
Oh yeah, that was a big part of it too. I forgot to mention I woke up with the worst hangover I've had, and I don't know when that was.
What?
Well, that was actually the last time I had a drink. It was a few Sundays ago. I woke up and I wasn't even anything like I wasn't going for it. I just happened to. I like specialty beers. I like the IPAs. I like to see what kind of craft brews are out there and stuff like that. It's like a beer snob kind of a thing.
Mm-hmm.
I found this one. It's actually really good, but super strong. And I didn't realize that. So I had 3 of these bad boys. But doesn't really seem like a lot though, right? 3?
Were they tall boys?
They weren't tall boys per se, but they were pints. So they were 3 pints.
That's a bit, dude. It's enough to give you a headache the next day.
Put it this way. Normally I can handle it if it was a different beer. Let's just say that.
Okay.
Not this stuff, bro. Oh, you know what? Screw it. It's actually good. If you like craft beers, try it. It's called 3D Chess. I don't know if you can find it. I don't even know where it comes from. It's somewhere in California. I forget. But 3D chess, and it comes with 3D glasses, bro, because you want to look at you want to look at the chess pieces on your beer can.
Oh my god.
Whatever. But I thought it was fine, and I woke up the next day. I'm like, all right, time to go to work, and I'm like, I'm not feeling right, man. And I get in the shower and I'm cleaning off, and all of a sudden, like I feel the heave, and I'm like, uh-oh, that's not good.
Shut up.
Yeah, okay, I'll stop.
Okay.
So anyway, driving to work, it's hot outside, the smokiness is there, and all of a sudden,
dude.
I just start getting the kind of things where it's like, you know what? I think I'm going to pull into this random store parking lot and go behind the bushes and throw up. It was one of those situations. And I'm like, what the fuck am I doing? And I went to work and everyone's like, dude, what's wrong with you? And I kind of explained myself and I'm just like, I'm fine. Just let me sit here. And I'm just sweating bullets, dude. Sweating crazy bullets. And I'm just trying to keep my shit together. And I'm talking to my coworker who's I'm getting ready to like, you know, he's getting ready to leave. I'm breaking him out. And he says something to me and I just put my finger up like, hold up, made him watch what I was doing, went to the bathroom, straight up projectile vomited in the bathroom. And I'm like, done.
What?
Done. I don't know. It was just.
And was your coworker like, are you okay?
No, I was fine afterwards. I felt fine, completely fine after that. Actually, my day was, you know, just went completely well. But I was like, nah, I don't want to do this anymore. But it wasn't even like I was like, oh man, I drank a whole bottle of tequila, went out and did a bunch of cocaine with my high school friends. You know, it was nothing like that. It was just, I just hit this point where my body's like, dude, you got to stop for a little bit. So I did. And I feel so much better. Problem though, there is a side effect with this. I don't know why, I have not been able to sleep like soundly for about a week and a half now. Every night I'm up. I don't know what to do. So it's like, is my body saying, hey, choose another crutch or, you know, choose another vice. I have no idea what to do. Foot massages? I don't know.
I think also we have to keep in mind that it's the zombie apocalypse and a lot of people are having trouble sleeping.
Yeah, maybe. Because I mean, I am up rather late. Matter of fact, I was up till 3 this morning, but part of the problem has to do with what I just said. The other problem is that I was rewatching Cobra Kai. That was the issue. I said, I'm going to, you know, Steve's been watching this. I think I'll just brush up because it has been it's well over a year since I watched the first season. So I'm going to brush up just a little bit, just for funsies. And then like 7 episodes later, I'm like, I should probably go to bed. It's 3:00 in the morning.
One thing we're going to talk about when we actually get into that subject is how many things had to go right for this to work. I don't think people are actually putting that into like perspective. It's astronomical that this show worked. Anyway, we'll talk about it when it comes up.
Works so well.
We will. Yeah, I can't wait to really talk about that with you because you've been telling me about this show for so long, dude. And it's hilarious that finally I was like, because of you, I'm like, you know what, dude? I'm doing it. I'm done. I'm just going to do it. I'm like, I will watch 1 episode.
See, I can't really hate on you for that though, because you didn't get another subscription, which is perfectly fine. Now you have Netflix and it's there, and that makes sense that you're watching it.
Exactly.
I will say that you should still use your free week of YouTube Premium and watch Wayne. If you can trust me on this one, you got to trust me on the other one, dude.
Oh, I tried Wayne. See, that's the difference. I did try Wayne. I watched 2 episodes.
When?
And it did. Remember when it first came out and you begged me to watch it and we had the conversation of it's not my thing.
Yeah, I don't understand that at all, Steve, but okay. I don't remember that either, but I'll take your word for it.
Yeah. It was just like, it wasn't my thing. And oddly enough, I think I know why Cobra Kai is now, and we'll talk about it. We still got to do the contact info and all that
because
stuff.
Technically Cobra Kai was not your thing either. Those were your words. You didn't really get into the Karate Kid when you were younger.
No, I did not.
Yeah. So when I was trying to sell you, you were telling me that. You're like, it's not my thing.
Yes. But I thought Wayne would be because of what you described it as. I'm like, a kid with a temper that can beat people up, I'm in.
I would be willing to bet. I'm not challenging you to do it because it'll take you another 7 years to do it. But I do think that if you watched it again, you might have a different, like, you know what I mean? Like you would have a different frame of mind when you watched it because you already sort of expected one thing. You would have to sort of talk yourself out of going, okay, well, I didn't like it the first time. Let me just try it again. That's where I think you have trouble, sir, is if you get like one impression in your head, it's pretty much there permanently.
And I didn't like him and everyone else did. And I'm like, the kid kind of annoys me. I think everyone else loved him though.
Yeah.
So I was just like, I'm just going to let people, and I will not get into people's mentions and be like, boo. No, I was like, I'm glad that they're happy watching something. That is fantastic.
That's good. You're not being a troll. Fair enough.
I've seen people do that, jump into people's mentions and be like, "That show was trash." I'm like, gee, why don't you just let them like something? In this time, let them like something. The only show that I've wanted to do that, and I was tempted to do that with, was the finale of Game of Thrones. When people were just like, I really like the finale. It took everything in me not to go into the mentions and be like, how though? I was just like, you know what? Let them enjoy it because we didn't get the enjoyment. Someone else did. And it took everything in me to be like, you know what?
You know what, though? I think we're both hypocrites when it comes to music because I know we've both done this. Like when someone's like, oh, I'm really into this. Nah, we've both done it. I've seen you do this a million times.
If they tell me that, like, if it's in our private situation, absolutely. And if I'm trying to get at someone, if a friend of mine puts up, like, I'm not going to use him right now because I know, let me use another guy.
Daniel.
Sure, let's go Daniel. And Daniel's like, you know who killed it, who was nasty with it, was little such and such. I'd be like, Daniel, if you don't get the crap about this place, I will do that on his page. I always argue with him because he likes E40. We always get online. We always, like, when we're talking, I'll always be like, that's like E40 is his favorite rapper of all time.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure E40 came up when he was on the show.
And he thinks he's the best rapper. He's his favorite rapper of all time. I was like, above Pac? He's like, favorite. I'm like, okay. And so we'll just we'll go because I have to. Because it's not one of the big, and it's not one of the big three. E40 is not one of the big three that people pick. So I'm just like, okay, time out. But other than that, it's like, I know you don't really do it. Like, I'll see people say, hey, these are my top 10 rock songs. And you're just like, oh, cool.
I'll probably fuck with you a little bit.
A little. You're like, it never, but you won't say someone has you won't say someone has trash taste.
You might. Trash taste, trash, there's lots of things that could be trash. You might say that.
Oh, contact info. Oh, dude, you know what's funny? Boy, am I tempted to play that voicemail.
You know what?
But I don't know if they meant to, bro. It might be kind of like, if we do, I don't want to embarrass them if they were just trying to be like, I wanted to show you a new song I wrote.
Well, did you hear the whole thing?
I did.
Okay, so it sounds to me like they knew exactly when to... We'll talk about what it is in just a second. But it sounds to me like they knew exactly what they were doing. Like you kind of hear the shifting around once the song is over. Like, okay, let's go ahead and stop. And I don't get it.
Maybe it's Johnny Root.
Okay, this is what happened. So yesterday, I look in the Heroes of Noise podcast Gmail, and it says voicemail from Anonymous. And I'm like, oh, cool. We haven't had a voicemail for a while. And I think it was either last episode or the episode before. I jokingly was like, hey, come on, leave us some voicemails on when we do the contact information. Probably do that every week. So someone did. I'm like, right on. And what it is just it's someone singing a cappella with a piano. I guess you can't sing a cappella with a piano, but it's someone singing along while they're playing piano.
Mm-hmm.
And it's, I guess, a whole song. Would you say it's the length of an entire song?
It is a complete song. 3 minutes.
It's a complete song.
Yes.
It's like a 3-minute song, but it's not like, hey, guys, this is so-and-so.
No.
I just thought I would play this for you. You guys, at first, what I thought was going on is that it was all going to tie together in the end. And it was going to be like a song based on something that we said in the show. Or like they were, you know what I mean? Like they were making a joke out of something out of the show or whatever, and they were including that in the lyrics. Not the case.
No.
I thought, okay, well, it doesn't seem like that's the way this is going, but we have another minute and a half. So is there going to be a punchline at the end or something like that? Not the case. I also thought, well, maybe when it's done, it's going to, you're going to hear the final note. Then it's going to be like, hey guys, this is so-and-so. I just thought I would play this for you. This is something I was working on. Play it if you want to. Play it if don't play it if you don't want to. But I just wanted to share this with you, which would have been cool too. Not the case. So we have this mystery recording of this song. And you know what, Steve? I'm not going to play it.
Yeah, I mean, like my thing is, as soon as it starts, I was like, is this Johnny Root? And I'm like, no, Root would have hit us up and been like, hey, I'm going to be leaving a song. And I'll be like, oh, cool. So I don't know who this mystery person might be.
Well, I have a suspicion, actually, but I'm not going to say the name because if it's not, I don't want to tie the two together. But we received another one. You can see it there. I think it's still there. It was from one of our listeners, one that we haven't really had a lot of contact with. I've maybe commented with, through Facebook. We've had some back and forth, but that's it. But it was like, hey, is this Dan? In the email. Confirm. And then this person also in the group asked, what's your email address? But they didn't send it to the email. So I don't know if it's this person.
I don't think it's them then. Or is that person a musician?
I seem to recall there being a guitar in one of the profile pictures, but that wasn't guitar. However, a lot of guitar players play piano. I don't know what's going on. Here's the deal. If you want us to comment on this in a fashion that's actually constructive, let us know who you are, mystery musician. Like, what was the point of that? I'm not mad at you. I would like to help kind of promote whatever you're doing, but I don't do anonymous real well. So, yeah, no, I'm just going to go ahead and skip it. That's fair, right?
That's totally fair because we don't know who it is. And
right, it could be a Nazi. What if it was a Nazi, Steve?
Listen, dude, whoever it is, I'm going to Google the name with racist. Make sure before we play anything that we know what we're doing.
Yeah, I don't know. It's the weirdest thing. I mean, it wasn't even necessarily a terrible song or anything. It was just so unsolicited and so out of the blue.
Thank you. It could have been great, but I was it's the equivalent of Prince walking into my house and playing a new song. I couldn't concentrate on the song because I'm like, you should be dead. I can't focus on this. You're supposed to be dead right now. And they'll be like, and someone was like, oh, really? How was the song? I'll be like, what are you talking about? I don't know.
Yeah. I don't know. I think even our longtime listeners know that if they have music, we're kind of like, we sort of promote that. We encourage you to send your music to us so we can talk about it. We'd love to get you on the show and talk about it, but it's very odd to do it in the way that was done. So either that was in fact an accident or what I would call a swing and a miss.
Yeah, and yes, I agree.
So, mystery musician, if you want to take a crack at it again, or follow through with this and explain yourself, we can go from there. But otherwise, I think we're just going to go ahead and skip it, just on the chance that it's a Nazi.
You just never know these days.
You never know.
But if someone else wanted to hear their song on our radio show, how would they do that?
Well, segue, Steve. I'm glad you asked. I really am.
Good Sieg.
That was nice. You did an actual Sieg right there, bro. You should be proud of yourself. Yeah. Stand by, sir. Well, hello, everyone. Welcome to the show. It's your buddy Dan here. It's the Heroes of Noise podcast. That's what I'm talking about. This is the part where we do the whole contact information. We tell you where to send your emails, your mystery voicemails with mystery songs and such. This is the time that we do that. So listen up. If you want to get a hold of the show, hit us up at heroesofnoisepodcast@gmail.com, all right? That's heroesofnoisepodcast@gmail.com. You can also reach us on Twitter, and by doing so, you're going to have to go to @heroesofnoise, all right? That's where you reach the boys. And then if you want to reach me, Dan, it's at Dan Q Public. My buddy Steve at SE_Hudson Music. You can also go to www.heroesofnoise.com, and there you can leave your mystery voicemails. You can add the show, subscribe if you will. You can subscribe to our friend shows. All this kind of stuff is there. Buy some shirts, leave some graffiti, whatever you want to do. That's all there, all right? I'm going to keep this nice and short and sweet because I'm still a little thrown off by this whole mystery guy. In fact, I'm kind of creeped out a little bit. But before I go, please join the Heroes of Noise podcast community on Facebook. Yeah, I know it's Facebook. And especially if you watched The Social Dilemma recently, you may not want to do that. I'm going to ask you to go ahead and put that all down. Ignore The Social Dilemma. Go to Facebook and join the Heroes of Noise podcast community. It's a safe space. You know what I'm saying? That's where like minds hang out and do things like that. And if not, they're the fuck out of here. We've proven it once or twice. Anyway, that's it. Back to Steve Hudson.
Dan, we have done an amazing amount of watching in the last 2 weeks, and a few of these things we have not been able to talk about only because we end up talking and we don't really chat that often, so we get caught up in our own kind of conversation. But I know that there are things that we both have seen and we could actually catch up right now on some stuff. Two specific things, one of which you've been telling me to watch for not a year, maybe.
Well, it came out 7 years ago, Steve. We've only been on for 3, but yeah, at least 3 years.
At least 3 years, because everything I told you, I'm like, you know what I like in a movie? And you were like, what's that, Steve? I'm like, I like flying people. Oh, really? Yeah. People that came from another planet grew up and were just strong. And you'd be like, there's a movie that really fits. And I was like, I'm good. And I'm like, you know what else I like? What? People that have an S on their chest. You were like, there's a movie that actually could go with that. I'm like,
Yeah.
And you kept on narrowing it down to the point.
And you're like, you know what I even like more than anything? Superman. Love Superman. I have seen, listen to me, Dan, I've seen Justice League. I've seen Batman v Superman. I've seen every DC movie there is to offer, sir. What's your favorite character though, Steve? Oh, it's Superman. Have you seen The Man of Steel? Nah, I don't want to see that. But that's Superman. That's a dedicated Superman movie, Steve.
It's true.
It's great. No, I think I'm going to pass for 7 years. But here we are, 2020.
You know, here's the funny part. I think a lot of it has to do with my allegiance.
To Chris?
Yes, dude.
I got news for you, son. He's not going to be mad at you. He's dead, Steve.
But dude, don't you think Superman, like Christopher Reeves, is Superman?
Oh, he's my Superman.
That's why I didn't want to be like, I like Henry Cavill, love him. But I was like, am I going to be, there's a difference between being Superman in a group of people and saying, now I'm Superman by myself like Christopher Reeve was. And I was like, am I ready for that jump? That's my childhood. And a lot of people watch it now and be like, it's silly, but it was my childhood, dude. Like Superman, it looked like he was real and flying, and it was stuff I had never seen before. So finally I got over it and I busted through the ceiling. That's what she said. And I went.
How did she? Hold on. Let me work that one out.
Go ahead.
So she busted through the feeling.
Yes.
Okay. I can only I can come to the conclusion that you're referring to a strap-on situation.
You haven't watched enough. Actually, I don't watch that either. You know,
I guess technically, it's not fun unless it hurts a little bit. Okay, never mind. Sorry, Steve. I'm sorry.
Jesus.
I apologize.
That DDP yoga boy.
No pain, no gain.
Let me change this. It wasn't me watching. Dan sent a free copy.
Twice.
Not once.
3 times. No, it was 3 times. Once, twice. 3 fucking times I sent a copy. 3 times, ladies and gentlemen.
Gee, that is so crazy. And I was like, the 3rd time I said, I'm finished. I am going to watch this movie. I am done. And all I had to do is get over the hump of, like, the first time I watched it, and not the first time, but I think one time I started watching it and I didn't know Russell Crowe was in it. Like, sometimes Russell Crowe could be a bit Russell Crowe-y, but in this one he wasn't. I was like, oh, he understands that I only have 4 minutes in this movie. Well, and he comes back. Like, he probably shot his parts in a day.
Yeah. I don't think Russ spent too much time on the set.
And he's like, let me just do it. And let's hurry up and do this little ghost part and get this out the way too. So we're talking about Man of Steel, ladies and gentlemen, since we accidentally tripped into it.
We're going back to the archives of when superhero movies first came out. So Steve can talk about a movie that we all know about. But let's do it, Steve, because I'm dying to know what you, seriously, like I'm fucking with you, but I really do want to know, like, what you thought of this movie.
But also, it also had the heat of Marvel was already doing its thing. Marvel was already jamming. And so I'm just like, man, what am I going to watch this bullcrap for? And that's mean because Marvel's an anomaly. You can't compare something to an anomaly. So I'm glad I watched it now, because if I would have watched it in the midst of Marvel 7 years ago, bro, I don't know what I would have thought. I don't know. I truly don't know. So the movie starts, and I think I know where it's going. And I will tell you this. From the beginning, I'm in. I am in. I really like this movie, Dan. Let me change that. I loved this movie.
Did you, Steve?
And here's the problem.
I had no idea that would be the case.
Gee, it's so America rah rah shish boom bah. It should be everything that I hate. Everything I hate.
How so?
Because he looks like who should be this, like, only his looking guy would be accepted even as an alien to be on our side. Even as an alien.
He's a handsome man, Steve.
That's what I'm saying. He looks, I'm like, if you were put in a freaking box of what people would be like, I trust this face, it would be his. However, I was able to get over it only because the corniness was embraced. They embraced the total and utter corniness of the whole thing. They didn't try to be like, no, well, you know what? I don't know. Maybe Snyder didn't. Maybe he actually thought whatever. But I think it was embraced. And I just was like, I like this. And I just think Henry Cavill brings something to Superman that is really important. And that's a sense of, you know what? I do want to do the right thing. I'm not just now seeing this, going to see Justice League and him turn evil. I would have really liked to be like, oh, I would have liked to see him really nice. And then all of a sudden turn out to be this, wow, look at Superman, the dark Superman. I didn't get to do that. But seeing how he just really believed in everything, I was like, oh, this is adorable. I love the movie. I needed a feel-good movie. I really needed, even though I don't know if Snyder meant to do it, but the destroying of the city at the end, and then how they tie that in, I'm like, did he mean to do that? Like, if not, if he did, and he knew he was gonna go Batman versus Superman was next, that is brilliant, Dan. Say what you will, but that is a very expensive bet. Yeah. That I'm going to destroy this, and then I'm going to use this footage to show why Batman is like, this dude is crazy. This man is crazy.
I almost felt like that was damage control for that in particular.
That's movie. What I was thinking.
Not for the set, not for what's going on in the movie. I'm talking about for the actual movie. I felt like that was damage control. Because I remember when it came out, and that was like one of like people's biggest pet peeves. It's like, well, if it's Superman and he cares so much about humanity, why is he destroying half of the city? With just like completely careless, just shooting off lasers out of his eyes, going through walls, destroying buildings, just crashing through buildings. A whole town is on fire.
Gone, dude.
Gone. Yeah, just obliterated.
His mom's house.
Yes.
Done.
And I think it's because of that, I don't think that we're dealing with like, oh, this was all part of the plan. I think this was damage control. I think smart. It was well done damage control because it gave Bruce that motivation in Batman v Superman. I thought that was actually pretty cool. But I don't know. I don't know if Snyder is that deep. You know what I mean?
I don't think so either. I mean, maybe it helps me to believe that was a brilliant move, but it was probably someone in the PR being like, dog, you really should probably start this next movie fixing that whole thing. Because you destroyed a city and was like, you guys are welcome. You're welcome. You're like, dude, you destroyed half of our town.
Yeah, it was the perfect motivation for Bruce, though. So I don't know. Perfect. Maybe it was, and maybe we should just give him the credit. People have made movies before, and they've made established universes before. But the problem that keeps me, the thing that keeps me from like being convinced of that is how wayward the DC universe was.
That's true.
It was just like it was just so like piecemeal, the whole thing true. To me. And I know that they tried to tie it all together, but to me, it just never truly worked. It just always felt like there was lots of plot holes. So I don't know.
Here's the plot hole that I didn't quite get. If I'm in a bar and someone wraps a truck around a telephone pole, I'm going to hear that. I don't care how good you are with it. It's going to make a sound that people hear. Not only that, someone's going to drive down that street, come into the bar and be like, I don't know if you guys noticed this, but there's a truck on a telephone line outside.
Yeah, but it's a remote town, Steve. It's out in the middle of nowhere.
No one left that bar all day.
Hey, you know what? To me, it looked like one of those friendly places where people just congregate, have some diner food, maybe harass the customers, and spend a good part of their day just hanging out there. And you never know. You're not giving enough credit to the audio quality of the speakers in said diner. You called it a bar, but I believe it was a diner.
That's true. It is a diner.
So maybe they just had some rock. Maybe they're rocking like Sonos speakers or something like that.
That's true. I know when he walked outside, I was like, that's awesome. And then as the movie kept going, I was like, wait.
We don't know if the majority of the building was built with, yes, there were windows. I understand that, but we don't know if the majority of the building was built with concrete.
True, but out of a window, shouldn't you see a car being wrapped around a...
Well, it just depends on the angle. See, I'm really trying to work towards this movie and defend it.
The thing is, here's the thing. I also had to realize to be like, hey, Steve, you're also talking about a person who can fly and shoot lasers out of their eyes.
Yeah, that's where I was going. It's like you're questioning a movie about a man that comes from space and is powered by the rays of the sun to save the world, or at least America.
He's
kind of Homelander-ish that way because he does tend to stay in America.
He did that African safari fly.
When they're all reaching for him and stuff.
No, yeah, where he was like, let me see how fast I can go. It was so dope, dude. And now I see why the rocks moved on the casket. I believe that the sun was giving him power in order to resurrect himself.
But what's that have to do with the rocks?
Because it moved when he was about to fly. He brought the energy from the ground, and the rock started vibrating and moving and floating, and then it took off. Same with when he was in his casket, the rocks did the exact same thing as when he was about to take off. Mind you, it makes no sense,
right?
But we're talking about Snyder. Snyder just was like, hey, if I do this, that's what he went for. And I was like, oh.
Yeah, I wasn't really arguing with you. I just wanted to see what your take on it is, because I couldn't really ever figure out why the rocks lifted myself. I mean, he hasn't even taken, like, the initial shot. He hasn't even lifted off the ground yet, but the rocks have.
Yeah, exactly.
So I don't get it.
It's still cool, right?
It looked cool. I'll give you that.
Here's the thing, dude. Say what you want about Snyder. Even from 300 on, he knows how to make cool stuff.
He's got an eye.
He's a douche, but he knows how to make cool stuff. He's very bro-y. Here's the thing. I would say Man of Steel is his least bro-y movie.
What if he just stayed on Bohemian Rhapsody?
Oh,
do you think like every time Freddie would start singing, his teeth would like lift up like garage doors or something?
Dude, who knows what I mean, dude, oh my God. Jesus. I'm glad, like, this is probably his least bro-y movie he's ever done. And it was really, like, after the movie was over, I really thought that, I was like, I would watch an immediate sequel right now. And what I love is how they made another freaking Americana.com. Ooh, rah, rah. How he destroyed this drone. And then the general walked up. Are you out of your freaking mind? I'm like, is that how you would talk to Superman, G?
Stop that.
Is it?
Stop it.
Gee, I'll be like,
stop it.
My thing is, everything I say to Superman, in the back of my head, I'd be like, he could this quickly just fly through me and cut me in half.
He could melt me with his eyes.
With his eyes. And I'm just like, he's out there being like, are you out of your daggone mind? That thing costs. I'm like, gee, you are talking to a killer alien. People are way too lackadaisical about this. He's a nice dude, killer alien. And I'm like, yeah, but the thing is, they want to make the generals look so tough. Oh, these are our toughest of our tough. Okay, yeah. Doug. Okay.
That's it. You just nailed it, dude. That's it.
I didn't like that. All the army stuff, I'm like, whatever. But the fact that these two beings destroyed a whole city, I thought, A, it was ridiculous, but B, it showed the sheer power of these things, of these people. How I like dude, here's what I'll say. Kevin Costner delivers every time.
He was good.
He delivers every time you see him. Has he done a Christian movie yet?
Has he done a Christian movie?
Yeah, I bet you Kevin Costner's done like a Christian movie, because he seems like the person they'd spend all their money on because he could just do that. I bet you he's done a Christian movie.
I can only imagine, starring Kevin Costner.
Dude, there's no question. And I loved how he got out of the car during the tornado and he's like, nope, now's not the time. I was like, this is a believable moment. I believe this. I like it. I'm in. I'm corny. That's okay. I was a cornball this whole movie, and I thought it was just like, this is adorable. This is just adorable. And I liked how, Russell Crowe was like, hey, man, you could still save her. And he's like, all right, man. And just dipped out and floated into space and then turned around and dipped. I'm like, hey, Superman over here.
Look at this guy with his cape. Flying through the universe and whatnot.
I liked it, bruh. I liked it. I will give Superman.
Hold up. I have questions for you.
Yes.
I have to just slow it down a little bit, Steve. You've not commented on Michael Shannon. You haven't told me what kind of Zod he was. Did he bring anything?
He was fine.
Weak?
He's fine.
You're not sold.
Well, no, he can be an evil anything. He has the face.
He does have that face, huh?
So he was fine.
In comparison to Terrence Stamp?
Yeah, no, Terrence Stamp is the dude. Michael Shannon phoned it in. He's like, I got the face. The face will do the work.
I'm just going to talk like the way I always talk and make this grimace.
That's
and
it.
Now I'm General Zod. Now I'm in Knives Out, and I'm still making the grimace.
That's it.
He's scary looking, dude. Pretty scary. But I thought, honestly, I thought he did an okay Zod. I wasn't disappointed in him. I thought it fit well. I thought he had the look. I enjoyed the battle at the end. I thought that was pretty cool. Albeit it was, maybe 45 hours too long. But other than that.
I liked it.
It was long. I didn't think it was bad. I just thought, like, there was a certain point. I remember watching it in the movie theater. And I'm just like, when is this going to stop? Like, this is a really
Well, the thing is, what I learned is Superman can't, like, fight. He's just really strong on Earth. But he's not, like, a soldier fighter.
He's got no street smarts.
No, though that woman would have destroyed him.
She was dope. You think that the three of them were supposed to be the three in Superman 2?
Yes, totally.
Ursula, I believe, was one of her names. I think it was Ursula. I think it was like Zod, Ursula, and it was that one cat that didn't speak. Remember, he had the goatee.
Yes.
But I assume he was the big robot guy.
Yes,
that's who that's supposed.
That's
to be.
what I assumed. I was like, oh, it's the three.
Yeah, it had to be, right? Anyway,
yeah.
I liked it. Okay, thoughts on, just quick, because this movie, we're probably going on too long, but this movie I've been trying to get you to watch, so I'm curious. Amy Adams, what'd you think?
She's fine.
Larry Fishburne.
Fishburne is Fishburne in everything. Also, Amy Adams totally could be switched out with Isla Fisher in any movie she's in.
I think that Isla Fisher looks like her. I think Amy Adams is more of the, she sells it. She closes the deal.
I think the problem is if Isla Fisher would have done more, then Amy Adams would have no parts. Because they're just way too similar. And now Amy Adams can just work anywhere, and Isla Fisher, like, I can't think of what Isla Fisher looks like without thinking about Amy Adams right now.
You just have to picture Amy Adams standing next to Borat.
Did you say Borat? You don't say Borat?
Apparently. Borat. I think I say Borat.
Wow, that's interesting.
I don't think it's Borat.
It is Borat. Borat.
I really think you get fixated on stupid shit if you must know.
Freaking damn. Oh, yeah. How'd you like Superman? Like Superman?
Superman, you mean?
Okay,
whatever. I think we're splitting hairs here.
We're not. Everybody in our group, can you please tell us who's right? Is it Borat or Barat? It's ridiculous even saying it.
What are you talking about? That is the weirdest fucking thing I've ever heard in my life. Like, I'm not doing a Christopher Walken with this thing or something like that.
No, but two-syllable words, that's even more important to get the syllables right. That's how people say it.
I think that's fucking weird. I think that's weird.
Why is that weird?
Because you're making it sound like it's the craziest thing I've ever said.
I didn't say it's the craziest thing. I was just like, yeah.
Borat. I don't know. To me,
okay.
Sounds just fine.
Okay.
You know what? I'm going to exclusively call this motherfucker Borat. Wait, which one am I not supposed to say?
That's the one.
Borat. Yeah, that's what I'm going to call him from now on.
Borat.
Yep.
Borat.
Oh, kiss my ass.
This guy with the two-syllable weird.
Okay, snotty Snottenstein. Let's move along.
All right, I'm going to give Man of Steel so that we can move on because we have a lot to talk about.
Yeah, we do.
I'll give Man of Steel 4 floating children in space.
All right, let's see. I feel like I rated this movie 9 million years ago, so I don't know if it's going to change or not. I know what, I'm not going to rate it. I liked the movie. How's that?
Yes.
All right, let's talk about something else,
Let's
man.
do it.
So, in the vein of us still watching the same thing, because it's not often that we get to do this kind of thing, let's catch up on The Boys, man. I haven't really heard your opinion on The Boys yet. Tell me about it. What do you think? We are on episode, I believe it's 4 now, right?
So far, because I didn't think that they were going to be able to top last season. And a lot of times it's hard because it's really difficult to make that bridge. It's been a while, and do you feel the same way? They bridged it right across perfectly. I love the Homelander. I love this season so far. Not sure that this week-to-week thing is a smart deal for The Boys. I really don't think it's a smart deal for The Boys. I think they're trying something new because they know that everybody's in, quarantine. I don't think it's a good look. Let me tell you how bad it was. I didn't watch episode 4. I forgot.
Oh, you're still on 3 then?
3, yeah. I just totally forgot. And I'm like,
okay.
That would have never happened if it was if I was just watching them back to back. I would have never forgotten 3. I would have just kept on watching. This Friday, they're like, and then when I thought back, I'm like, oh crap, episode 4. I'm like, episode 5 coming out on Friday anyway. And I'm like, oh, right there, I knew. I guarantee I'm not the only one doing this. Where it's just like, oh yeah, that's right.
Yeah, you're definitely not. People are pissed off about this to the point where they're acting silly about it. Really,
yeah, they're going overboard. They need
when
to
you start just leaving purposely bad reviews on a show that's been like you can feel the love put into the show.
It's
that's
so
the
good.
Thing.
It's so
even
good.
if it like a lot of it strays away from the comic. The little Easter eggs that they put in and stuff like that, they're showing you we care, but we're trying to do this with a more of a, we can't do this the way that the book was. And we just can't. Like if Preacher couldn't do it, why the hell can this one do it, right?
The times have changed way too much for that to roll.
Exactly. But not only are we going to flip it on you guys and do something a little bit different, we're, I'd say making it almost just as good.
Absolutely. Or better.
Or better, to be quite honest with you. That's the thing. It's like, I don't like to disrespect the writing of Garth Ennis, but at the same time, it's like, dude, they're doing just an upstanding job. Like
they're killing it.
Season 1 took so much of the original story and really flipped it on its ear and added new characters and everything like that. But just like this one does, it kind of continues with that. But they just did it with such style. And I don't mean to knock Preacher, but I think that when Preacher came out, they had a lot of situations that maybe didn't work out that well, a lot of little issues that didn't quite tie together, introduction of storylines that really didn't need to be there and all that. And I think that even though the only one that's really involved with this, to the best of my knowledge, would be Seth Rogen and Evan Goldberg, I think they did take that into consideration. And I think that they just, they go, let's not do what we did on Preacher and let's just improve on that on The Boys. And not only are we going to do that, but we're going to do that again with season 2. It seems to me like they know exactly what they're doing.
Absolutely.
But Kripke, that's where I think the true love comes from, is from Eric Kripke. That dude is putting his heart and soul into this shit.
Just like in Supernatural. That's what he does. He is a great showrunner.
If they're just doing their last season this year, when did that shit come out? How many seasons are there?
What is it, 13? 4? Yeah. And
something
every
like that. I think
season.
This might be the 16th season, if I'm not mistaken.
And not only that, but every season, not that it's a big deal to some, but the fact that every season of this show, when they go to Comic-Con, they're in the big hall. That's a big deal to some.
Packed,
dude, for about 3 characters in a show. It's about 4 maybe characters in a show. And I was invested. And Kripke knows how to be like, I can make you fall in love with these characters. Even the ones you don't like, you're going to love them. And he's doing it. They picked the perfect person to do it.
Are we at a point where we can actually do some catch up with this and talk about some spoilers? We don't have to like break it down, but I'm curious about certain highlights of the first 3 episodes. Yeah. So tell me what you think, man. I mean, as far as like the craziness of it, I think episode 3 is outstanding when it comes to showing you that they can still put the blood into a show and the gore into a show and make it comedic. That whale scene was phenomenal.
That's
some of the most outrageous shit I've seen on television probably ever. And I loved it. Not, it wasn't like so outlandish and appalling that it shocked the world, but I can be the first person to tell you, I've never seen some shit like that before. I've never seen people drive a boat head on into a whale and then follow up with like a full-on conversation in the body cavity as the heart is still beating and the lungs are still working. Like there was they actually had working body parts in there, man.
So good. I mean, whoever decided, just give me a chance. I know people are like, let's just use they're like, no, trust me. Let me figure out how to make this thing like it's moved. Like they gave the person a chance to be like, let me make this the best it could be. Let me make it move. And they're like, okay. Whoever said okay was smart. Okay. Make it beating and lungs move. Okay.
Let them run with it. They know what they're doing.
Let them do that thing. Because a lot of people would have been like, oh, whatever. Make some dripping blood. And they're like, oh, no. We want this thing moving inside. And it was so smart, dude. I loved that. And I think one thing I will say is they have made a conscious choice to make this Homelander season. This is his show. It's his show.
He's definitely like carrying most of the weight.
Yes, dude. It's Homelander show. Because I noticed I love the Fabulous 5 or 6, right? I love them all. Fantastic. I love Aya Cash. Isn't it 5 of them?
The fuck? Are we talking Melly Mel now? What are we doing here?
I'm talking about the Fab. We got the Butcher. We got
the 7. What are you talking about?
No. I'm talking about the team with the butcher.
Oh, just the boys themselves.
Yeah.
Okay, gotcha. Yeah.
And so I love them, and I even love the new Aya Cash. But let me tell you something. There is one person that when there's a scene with him, I push pause to do anything. Like if I have to leave the room, I'm pushing pause. Not because I'm like, I'm not going to understand what happened when I was gone, but because I want to see every expression he's making.
He's so Homelander that I feel like he might slightly suffer the Harry Potter syndrome.
Where
you know what I mean?
People can only see him as Homelander?
Kinda. And that's not a knock. It's just that I think it's just when you play something so well, it's really hard to like disassociate and go, okay, well now you're this character. For instance, he's got a show out called Banshee.
I didn't know he's in Banshee.
Yeah, he's the star of Banshee. And when I went to C2E2, I kept talking about hey, watch Banshee, because I don't know how many people are watching this show, if any. But
on Stars, right?
No, it's actually on Prime. And I started, maybe it's on Stars too, but I know you can get it on Prime. So I started watching that back in March, right when COVID kicked in. I don't know. There was a lot of things going on in March, you know what I mean? But I just couldn't focus on that show because all I could see was Homelander. It's not like he was doing Homelander type stuff. I think I just didn't put enough time between the boys and Banshee. I don't even know if that makes sense, but I had a hard time buying that role in comparison. First of all, it's just not as good of a role as Homelander is. So maybe I didn't give it a fair shot. I kind of want to come back to it though, because I feel like if Anthony Starr can do what he does with this, that dude, that's acting. That totally deserves an Emmy. But here's the thing, and I'm going to kind of jump away for just a second. I was pretty certain that he's going to get a nomination, right? I just think, I don't know, maybe I'm completely wrong. I just feel like it's necessary. I feel like it's totally deserved. But now there's a problem. And that problem is a show called Ted Lasso, dude. I'm not entirely sure. Like, if they're not neck and neck, or at least both nominated, there's something wrong with the world. And I'm not sure if they do get nominated. I'm not entirely sure Anthony Starr can beat Sudeikis. I'm completely making this shit up off the top of my head. Maybe they're not going to be in this whatsoever. But in my head, in my fantasy world, these two dudes need to be at the top of the list when it comes to best male actor. They're fantastic.
You're in luck because Anthony Starr is not going to be nominated for an Emmy.
It's a shame though, dude.
Yeah, I mean, but they know going in that this show is not the show that they nominate for an Emmy. Tries to, they're freaking ran by like people that are like 948 years old. They're not going to be able to see the acting chops in, if they've even watched The Boys. They're not going to be able to see the brilliance in it. Ted Lasso, they're going to be able to see it because it's right. It's probably, I haven't seen it, but I'm sure they'll be able to tangibly see the greatness there easier than they could tangibly see the greatness in Homelander.
I'm still going to hold out hope, man. I think that I mean, you're probably right, but I really think this dude deserves it. Like that's fucking acting right there, man. I'm convinced he's Homelander when he's on screen.
Yeah, he's yes. For sure.
I'm literally anxious when I know he's got a smile on his face, but he's about to do some dirty shit. Absolutely. There's a scene that takes place, and I think it's in episode 4, maybe in episode 3. I think it's in episode. No, it is. It's going to be in episode 4 that takes place in an elevator between Erin Moriarty, I think it's how you say her name, and Anthony Starlight, and Homelander. And it's just so intense, dude. And it's just the way that this dude can channel that kind of evil. I personally haven't seen some shit like that before. If he doesn't get it, it's a goddamn travesty. That's what I'm saying. At least a nomination.
I think and being like typecast is just such I mean, obviously a lot of people are going to, like, I think Aya Cash, I don't think they're going to, I think she's going to be typecast as like a facetious person. I'm calling it.
Well, she kind of always comes off that way.
That's the same. And that's what I'm saying. Like Homelander, when you do a good character, that's who you're kind of going to be. Jeff Goldblum has been playing Jeff Goldblum for years. And he's okay with that. He's like, yeah, I get hired to be me in everything I do. And he's okay with that. You can make a career out of doing it. So if Homelander is a thing that's going to get him other villain jobs or whatever jobs, I'm happy for him. As long as he gets other work after this, I'm pleased because he did a great job.
Do you think he's like falling into the Ray Liotta category?
I think he's going to be in a different area of that category where
but you know what I'm saying, right?
Yeah, he can do that. And I would love it because I watch Ray Liotta and everything. So yeah, have fun.
Because it's at this point now where it's like, if I see Anthony Starr, like if the next thing he does is like a romantic comedy, it might be good, but when I see it initially, I'm going to be like, okay. Whereas if he was, it's that kind of movie where they're setting everything up in the trailer and the big bad comes on the screen and Anthony Starr comes walking out, I'm like, uh-oh. Okay, now we got a movie. He might actually be really fucking good and scary in this one.
Yeah.
I feel more comfortable with him in that role,
I'm very eager to see where it ends up. I mean, look, I think between Anthony Starr and Giancarlo Esposito, those two, I loved the interaction between those because Giancarlo was just like, who do you think you're talking to?
Yeah.
That was unbelievable to me. And I was like,
I appreciate your tone. He's like, and I don't appreciate you pulling your bullshit either.
It was
totally
amazing.
Stone faced with that, like that matter of fact look in his eye. Like, no matter what you say, I got your ass. I don't care who you are.
Well, he clearly is aware of Homelander's daddy issues and he played on it.
Yeah.
He played on the daddy where I'm going to be the man, and Homelander shrunk down and he's just like, okay. I was like, Giancarlo knows his daddy issues. And he was perfectly fine with it. Anything Giancarlo does now, he is gold. Like, he's gold. Now, mind you, everyone's going to always compare him,
Breaking Bad.
Of course. You're going to compare him because he was probably one of the best villains we've ever seen on screen. But I think everything he does, he's bringing the freaking fire. So far, I mean, I love this. This was, I don't know what level I had this as far as a TV show, but it was at a certain number and got bumped only recently by another show.
Oh, really?
Oh, and I don't think people are going to like it at all.
I got to know. Hold on.
Wait, first let's go through the reviews. Go through all the reviews.
Well, no, be more descriptive real quick. Like, be more descriptive. Are you saying that this was your favorite show up until a certain day recently?
Yes.
Okay. All right. I just want to make sure what you're saying. Okay.
Oh, yes. And it got knocked off.
It doesn't look like we're talking about it either.
No, we're not.
So what's the show?
But we need to get through these. And if we have time at the end, we'll talk about it.
That is some open-ended shit. Just say it already. What's the show?
Cobra Kai.
We're talking Cobra Kai, motherfucker.
Cobra Kai.
Let's talk about Cobra Kai right now.
Cobra. Okay, I'll give. No, I'm gonna wait till the season's over. Cobra Kai is exactly what everyone said it was. Everyone in the circle that I saw, where they said, "Let me tell you the percent it has of being this good, the rights it has being this good." 0. There is no reason that this show should be as good as it is because 100 billion things had to work out in an astronomically perfect way for this show to be this good. The writing had to be there. Macho had to be in. Homie had to be in. Everyone still had to bring their A game and say, I understand what role we're playing and I am totally in. They had to pick the right kids. People had to be able to wrap their head around the idea of what it meant. They had to trust that even if you hadn't seen The Karate Kid, you'd understand that flamingo kick. Everything had to work.
It's the crane, man. Come on.
Oh, yeah, okay.
I'm just saying. You're going to get on me about Borat and Borat.
That's a little different.
I think that you should at least call it the crane kick, bro.
Oh, should I?
You really should. I mean, don't make an ass out of yourself.
That's true. Everyone will be like, you're the guy that called the Karate Kid movie a crane. Yeah. That's true. Will.
We always have to differentiate. We always have to understand too, when you say homeboy, we got to stop a second and go, okay, who's homeboy? I believe you're referring to William Zabka, correct?
Yes.
Okay. Just make sure. There's lots of homeboys and homegirls you throw out. I just want to make sure that people know who we're talking about.
Absolutely. So, there's no reason that this show could be as good as it is. And when I saw that Will Smith was a producer, I was like, oh, this could go either way.
That is something I missed entirely.
Yeah, I was like, this could go either way. Let's see how this works. And let me tell you something. It's a freaking good show, dude. It's a show I needed now.
Now, you mentioned that for people that don't have like the knowledge from the original movies, aren't you one of those people?
I watched the movies I did not understand why people loved it so much. And I was a kid, and I just didn't understand the love for that movie.
Looking back on it, sometimes it's very easy to see that. I don't know. I think I was the perfect age when I saw that movie.
Yeah.
I also liked karate at the time, so maybe that was a big part of it. But yeah, there is a lot to work through with these movies. Like they're doing something. I can't even say all of them are doing that. I will say that for sure Karate Kid 1 and 2 captured it. 2 was a little bit on the, you know how like sometimes when you go with 80s movie sequels, you always have to go bigger, right?
Yes.
So,
yes.
You know, it had that thing where let's take him to Okinawa and have him fight another big bad kind of thing, an even bigger bad. But there was just something about the Karate Kid formula that worked, something that allows millions of people to put themselves into a world where everything gets solved with karate. And there's nothing cheesy about it. You know what I mean? Like think about it. If you're talking about you're talking about Cobra Kai, episode 1, the bully kids, right? They just all know karate. Right? We don't establish it. There's no Reseda doesn't have a big karate following anymore. You know, I understood that because it was like the 80s and karate was a big thing back then, and this town had all these championships. This is where everyone would come from all over. So I could see why that was a big thing. But, you know, you fast forward 25, whatever it is, years later, and everyone is still solving their problems with karate. And for some reason, it completely works. Don't know.
When I first saw the movie or the show, when I first saw the first episode, I was like, okay, first of all, I was like, that was really short. Or I thought maybe it was in my head. I was like, wow, that seemed like a short episode. But I went to the next one and I was like, there's no way the second episode is going to be as good as the first. There's just no way. And this is the first show in a while, not the first. Yeah, there's been a few, but this is a show that I could put in the pantheon of shows that keep on going up. It levels up, even if it's a tiny tick. Every episode goes up. There's not a situation of, season 2, episodes 2 through 3 are kind of a drag. Nope. There is not an episode I could say those episodes were drags. I thought that it was just such a fun, it was fun. Like they drop in these lessons that should be so corny. These lessons should read corny. They should. But apparently I'm a corny dude. Because some of them I was like, oh yeah, that's true. Good point. I was like, it's really good. I thought it was so good.
There's some form of magic in that writing that makes it like, I don't understand it. It's not even like I'm convinced. It's just, this is perfectly acceptable. Like I'm saying, like whatever it is that they're doing where in this world, everyone solves their problems by karate makes complete sense to me. And I'm totally fine with it. There's no guns. Yes. There's hardly any fist fighting. It's just straight up karate. I love it.
All the kids are good. I think all the kids, I'm talking about, here's what I will say. There is a standout guy that I think is really killing.
Hawk?
Yes.
I thought you'd say Hawk.
He's a standout where in the beginning, I was like, I think I know where this character is going. Wrong. Totally wrong. I said, they did I don't know who was in the writer's table being like, what if we did this? What if we did this? And just make this guy, don't fix anything on him. Don't do anything to him. Just give him some hair and change his attitude. And let's show how much a change of attitude can affect a person's life.
Right.
I said, man, if this isn't brilliant.
See, that's where I'm at right now. That I was at like 3:00 in the morning. And it kind of dawned on me that time. It's like, okay, because he goes so hard on him when he first shows up in the dojo, calling him lip and everything like that. And I'm thinking to myself, man, like it almost felt uncomfortable. And I know that's what they were going for. But then he's like, if you don't want me to call you lip, then change your face. Or I forgot how he put it, but it was like, basically he's telling him, well, then give me something else to focus on. And Lip's like, lip. Now I'm calling him lip. And now he's like, okay, yeah, sure. So he comes back. And he comes back so hard and changes. And I think that there's a lot of that in the world. Do you know what I mean? I think that they're really, like they do a dramatization of it, but I think that there is definitely a lot of people that are being picked on in school and they just have to completely flip their personality and to gain this confidence or whatever. And then of course you see what happens. and
Yes.
he becomes this terrible person, but yeah, it's totally convincing, dude. I love it. I love everything about both seasons. Actually, I do think season 1's a little bit stronger than season 2 because much like sequels, like I said earlier, they tend to start going a little more over the top, but that's perfectly okay with me in Karate Kid world. It's great. You're already on season 2, right?
I finished everything.
Okay, so like the introduction of Kreese, when we know that kind of stuff is coming.
Dude,
and
I didn't. I did not. I did not.
But I can see that. I just you're talking to someone that has watched these movies so many times, though, and to me, it was like, it's not like I'm like, okay, I'm watching episode 1 of season 1, going, okay, Kreese is going to come back soon, but it just made so much sense when he did. Like, of course, he's coming back.
When he stepped out of the shadow, bro. At work, I was like, wait a minute. Wait a minute. Dude. I thought I liked second season better than first. I'm the opposite. I thought second season was a destruction zone. It was a destruction zone only because they had a kid, I forgot the kid's name, the stringy dude, kind of tall, skinny guy. That was Hawk's best friend.
Dimitri?
Yeah. What you think any other show would show him all of a sudden becoming amazing.
Yep.
Amazing at this thing. And they kind of show how LaRusso's kind of getting frustrated because he's like, how do I teach him then? I've done everything I can. But the fact that he never gives up on this kid, he just never gives up. And I love how they show that, well, I don't want to say this. Is that a spoil? Yeah, I already spoiled a grip of stuff.
Oh, dude, this show's been out for a long time. I think you're good.
I think
it's just recently on Netflix, but I think I think the people that are going to watch this show for the most part have seen it.
You think so?
I think so, for sure.
I mean, here's what I will say. If you haven't watched it, watch it. I will say honestly, if you haven't watched it, just watch it. So, what I loved about the first seasons a lot was the fact that Johnny didn't realize that he was ridiculous until he cultivated a culture of that he could see from the outside. He saw these kids from the outside looking in, and he was like, "Oh, wait a minute! I don't want you doing that." He had no chance of that throughout his life after he left karate. He never saw what his results were. His kid was gone, so he kind of saw that. But he was just like, okay, well, whatever. The reason that he's like that is because he just wasn't in Cobra Kai. He fostered this group of kids in a way that he wanted to, and he saw that the way that he wanted to train up a kid creates monsters. And he's like, wait a minute. I don't want to do. I said, that is such smart writing. That's smart. Like, that is a smart writing situation. And so I was like, I liked it. I liked the first season, and then season 2 just skyrocketed. Are there loose ends that I'm just like, they're a little annoying? Yes, but that's fine. I'm like, it's who you chose for the first season, so they're gonna be here. You know what I'm saying? You can't just get rid of the actor. And so I just thought it was fantastic, man. Thank you for bringing this to my attention. Thank you.
Thanks, Netflix, for picking it up. I think a lot of people are going to start enjoying this now because they just, like yourself, they didn't really want to invest in YouTube Premium for just one show or something like that. So yeah, I think this is going to get way bigger than it is. And I think it's the perfect time for them to do that. I have no idea when season 3 is coming out, but the way that they left it open-ended like that, to where there are 2 big things that we're expecting in season 3. The return of a certain character, of course, and then the Kreese situation. But to get to the Kreese situation, I imagine now we're going to have an alliance, right? We have to have some form of an alliance. Even though they kind of hate each other still, like they did come to an understanding.
I don't think it's going to be, they're not going to be able to do an alliance until the last season of the show.
I think it's going to be let's do what we have to do to fix this one situation, meaning Kreese. And then that's going to go over really well. We might even get like the close-up shot of 2 hands clasping in a handshake, but the Ali situation is still there. And that's where the rivalry is going to come back again.
I would think there's going to be some sort of alliance if they weren't quiet at a certain elevator scene.
Oh, yeah.
There was no, we have to get, no. They were just like, I hate you now, and I hate you too. Okay. That's what they've decided on. And here's what I will say might happen. And mind you, this is not a spoiler because it probably won't happen. Matter of fact, definitely. But in my brain, his wife says you cannot do karate. So he has to secretly make sure that this dojo continues. And so I think Johnny begins to teach the way of some sort of mixture of Cobra Kai and Miyagi-Do.
Sure, which is kind of like an alliance. There's got to be some kind of common ground that they hit to make this work.
Because he can't do it anymore. Yeah, he can't do it anymore.
We'll see.
I mean, the wife kind of wants, I mean, you know what I'm saying? Does he want to do that? Because his wife seems like I'm not bluffing. You do this anymore. Or, you know what they also could do is something happens real bad and the wife looks at him and she's like, go get him.
Yeah,
that could happen too.
Now you're talking. That's where because we have to think 80s movies, dude.
Yes.
That it's going to be one of those situations for sure. Definitely the go get him. I think that's going to work in its way. Somehow it's going to work its way in for sure.
For sure. Yeah. So yeah. I will grade it. I will grade, dude, Cobra Kai is leaps and bounds above competition. Now there's other shows I like better. Don't get me wrong, but I'm saying like what's happening right now, I don't know anything that's touching it right now. That last episode, bro. I won't, that's the one thing I won't ruin for people. Like there's times where I pause. I'm like, oh no, they had people like off camera being like, all right, go. And they'd have to go at the perfect time. I said, this is a really legit fight scene. And so I love that. And then that part I did not see coming. And I thought, of course it's going to be, oh, how didn't I see that coming? Of course, but great writing. Again, I will rate Cobra Kai 4.5. I will rate it 4.5 out of 5 balancing, I don't even know what you call it. Balancing river pods?
I know what you're talking about, yeah.
I don't even know what that's called.
I don't either.
And the weird thing is, I was like, I remember more of the Karate Kid than I thought I did. Because I also remember my mom taking me to see one of them where a girl was the protagonist in a Karate Kid. Like a grown, tall girl.
Yeah, it's Hilary Swank.
Oh my God. Yeah, my mom took me to that movie and I just thought, I'm like, okay, yeah, I officially don't understand these Karate Kid movies. Like we both left and we went to Sunset Drive-In. And we were like, okay, we don't, what are we doing here? This makes, what is this?
That was the next Karate Kid.
Oh.
There's the Karate Kid 3. That's where everything fell apart. Yeah. That's the really bad one. I think I've only seen that movie one time because it was so terrible. But that's when you have John Kreese and another guy who's even more evil. That's running the dojo. Yeah. I just remember he's this guy with a ponytail. Really cheesy movie because the ponytail in the 80s ponytail meant that you were evil. But I don't know. Maybe I'll have to go back and watch that one too, just to see if there's any little drops that show up in Cobra Kai. I could see that guy coming back. I really could. Sure. Like, yeah, they're going to do something like that. I think that this show runs about 80% on nostalgia, but that same 80% also has like this powerful writing that I don't know if they're using the same team, whatever it is, they've managed to capture the feeling of Reseda in the 80s, even though it's modern now. And it's just working so well. I do have one thing to say, though, or something to ask you. Because just the other day I was watching this video, and it was William Zabka and Ralph Macchio, and they were talking about who, in fact, truly was the bad guy in the Karate Kid movie. And I'm curious what you think about that. It's been a while since you've seen that movie, but the breakdown goes like this. Basically, they're saying that Johnny is a misunderstood character. And I kind of buy into that now because, you know, he's doing his thing. Yeah, he's got this relationship that's not going well with Ellie, with Allie in the movie. Mm-hmm. But then like Daniel shows up, right? And he kind of unknowingly moves in on Allie because she's not really feeling Johnny anymore. Johnny comes down to the beach to have a conversation with her that starts off somewhat civil, a little heated, but somewhat civil. Daniel gets in the way because this is where Johnny fucks up, but stick with me. Johnny grabs the radio out of her hand and like throws it to the ground, and like it gets aggressive, right? So then Daniel gets involved, and this is where the fight starts. Johnny's telling him to like back up and just stay out of it, and he pushes him down, and then Daniel hits him, right? So, and then this goes on again, and then like this, that should just be like its own situation where it's like, look, two guys are acting like assholes, one of them gets beat up, but then Daniel keeps taking it to the next level. He goes to the Halloween party at school, the Halloween dance, dressed like a shower. And Johnny's just trying to like roll a joint up in the toilet, and he puts the water on him. He keeps antagonizing him, right? So I'm starting to think, because they did talk about this, like Johnny was a guy that, and you know this from season 1, he was a kid that didn't have any friends. He just wanted acceptance. He wanted something to be good at because his stepfather was such a shit to him, right? Ed Asner, played by played brilliantly by Ed Asner, by the way. So he ends up going to Cobra Kai as a kid that is just a sponge for information right now. And he meets John Kreese, who is his sensei, who he's supposed to listen to, who teaches him this way. So he doesn't really know any other way of doing things. That's the only guy that's ever been like a, for lack of a better word, or a better phrase, like a father figure in his life, right? So he has been trained to react this way and to be the aggressor. Strike hard, strike first, strike hard, no mercy, right? So he's kind of like a victim of circumstance. Daniel's kind of the dick, in my opinion. Fast forward to Cobra Kai, Daniel's the arrogant asshole that owns the car lot, right? Mm-hmm. He's rich, totally full of himself, still stuck on the karate thing, even though he hasn't done karate in who knows how long. And then like through this little twist and turn thing in this little circumstance that happens with a car, they come face to face again. And what's the first thing Daniel does? He gets all of his boys around him, his cousin and his friend, to come and, hey, this is the guy in high school. They're like, isn't that the guy whose ass you kicked? Well, to be technical, I kicked his face. He's the dick. What do you think about that?
I think it could be seen either way.
I don't know, man. I it's been a long time with this movie, and I hear you. But I think Daniel's the dick. I really do.
I had annoying kids around me that were just pests. But I didn't consider them like, I didn't consider them like, I'm going to bully this kid now. They were just pests.
I'm going to give you one more example. So in season 1, Daniel finds out that Cobra Kai is opening up again. He's all pissed off about it, right? So what does he do? He goes to the landlord of the mini mall, right? And he says, he gets this plot going. He's like, I'm going to go ahead and act like I want to buy this mini mall. So that way he'll jack the prices up, forcing him out of business. Okay, cool. You just did your little, you did your little offensive move to Johnny. But Daniel doesn't take into consideration, being that Daniel's a rich guy. You've seen his house. He's got a dope ass house, right? He's got a lot of money. Mm-hmm. He doesn't take into consideration that anyone else in that mall might be having financial problems. And he jacks their rates up too. That's some selfish shit.
Totally. There's no question that, like, they both have their issues. No question. Both of them are douches. When you really boil it down, both of them are douches. And it's a fact of which douchey action matters most to you. There could be a person where, like, their father wasn't in the picture and they were terrible to him. That means that they're going to really hate Johnny. There could be another person there. Oh, my father worked all the time and I never got a chance to see him that much. Then they're going to really hate Daniel. They're going to hate him because it depends on which bad thing touches you most, which bothers you the most. That's what they're boiling it down to. And I think it's smart. They're like, yeah, neither one of them are angels, but it's just the fact of which one bothers you the most, because they show both sides of them doing great things. And then they see how the other person only sees the other person doing knucklehead things.
Yeah.
And then
go ahead.
No, I was going to say, and then they show Johnny looking back on his time with Daniel, and he sees a totally different story than the Karate Kid. He sees all these things. Daniel kicked him and he punched him and he showered him. And he's like, this is the thing I have about you. But when Daniel sees him, he sees him as a total bully. And then when he sees him now, he's like, you still are that bully. You're who I thought you were. So I get it. From both sides. I get it from both sides.
I feel you, but I'm a little more on the Johnny team.
Totally understand.
I got to be honest with you.
I get that. I mean? Yeah, for sure.
But at the same time, like, he's still that kind of a douchey guy. Like, remember when he's handing out the flyers and he's got the headband on? He's like, "Hey, you want to learn how to kick ass?" Like, nice headband, bro.
And I think the thing is, I think obviously they're pushing. It's far fetched that he's like, "What's a Facebook?" I'm like, "Yeah, come on, guys. You accidentally know what Facebook is. You just, and that the douchey type of guy he is, he would have been the first beta user of a dating app. He would have been the beta user. He would have been on Pornhub when it first dropped on it. He would buy a computer to do that. So I'm like, okay, I get what they're doing, but that guy is not the guy that doesn't know about those things. Not a chance.
I swear to God, those people exist, dude. There's people that I went to high school with that every once in a while, I'm like, hey, does this guy have a Facebook account? Or I'll run into somebody, hey, I want to talk to this guy, or how's this person been? They've never even gotten like an email address. They've never been on. I met one of my best friends when I was a kid. He has a business. He doesn't have social media. He doesn't have an email address. Motherfucker doesn't have a cell phone. There are people like this that exist.
I totally believe that, but not the kind of douchey people like him that they have no idea that internet porn is around. No.
Why you got to go to internet porn?
Because that's what he was doing. As soon as he got Google, he did that. I'm like, oh, this guy would have had it a long time ago. That's the one. I would have been in that conference room, be like, hey guys, bad news. Homeboy would have had that. So I think it would have been even funnier if they're just like, you don't have a cell phone, but why do you have a computer? And dude would be like, Pornhub. I'm like, yeah, that's that guy. Yeah, for sure. He would have a computer if he had nothing else. He'd have a laptop for sure. But I thought it was, you know what? The only weird part was how they threw that really cool woman in there for a date for no reason.
Remember, I'm catching up again. So
where the woman bumps him at a bar. She's like, let me make it up to you and buy you a drink. And they just have this great conversation. And then he ends up overhearing Miguel's mom's boyfriend talking crazy, and he checks him. But I'm like, You didn't have to leave the date. You could have left, beat him up, and then just come back into the date. That's what I was like, why did you guys even have her in there then? Because she was really cool, huh?
I'm not at that part again on the rewatch. So
this second season.
Oh, okay, yeah, then I'm for sure.
Yeah, but again, so yeah, I really dug it. What was your rating for? Because you already rated Cobra 5. I think you gave it 5.
I gave it a 5 out of 5 all the way around, dude. 5 out of 5 crane kicks for me.
That's dope. What else you want to talk about?
All right, so what else have we watched? There's a few more that we've actually watched together. I think we should just stay on that.
Go for it.
You actually told me about a documentary. I was talking to you while driving the other day, Steve, and you said, hey, I just watched this really cool documentary. You might want to watch it. It's about a band that I loved in the 80s. I still love them. I mean, they're not my favorite or anything, but I respect this band so much. And they had a fantastic Behind the Music on VH1 several years ago. So now that they have a full-length documentary that just came out this year, by the way, I think it's worth talking about. So thank you, sir, first of all, for turning me on to that. And what I'm talking about is the 2020 documentary called The GoGos. The GoGos are the most successful female rock band of all time. The documentary chronicles the meteoric rise of a band born of LA punk scene that not only captured but created a zeitgeist. I'm going to tell you that I fucking loved this documentary. It doesn't take much to sell me when it comes on music docs anyway, particularly when it's a band I'm into, but I thought they did a fantastic job with this. I loved learning the early version of the GoGos, the original members, learning about the punk scene, learning about the, secret addictions that people had and just the inner struggles of the band. This documentary had everything that I need in a music documentary. I loved it, dude. Loved the shit out of it. I mean, you just told me watch it. I'm curious what you thought.
I loved it. I thought that I was not very versed in the Go-Go's. I knew a few of their songs, the obvious songs. But I loved for me, if it's a music documentary, I'm going to watch it. So I just push play and immediately I'm pulled in by the fact that they used to be this like punk band. I had no idea. I did not know any of that. And they were really heavy in the punk scene, and seeing them come up through these steps that they took to try to get popular. The ideas that their manager has, this is great to get versed on the business of music. How no matter how good you are, if there is a story about you that isn't quite vibing, you're not going to get signed. There was one story that permeated, and it even made headlines being like, why aren't these girls signed? And it just didn't matter until someone took a chance on them, and just seeing how that goes and seeing how money can ruin everything. Everything, dude. But to get deeper, I think the reaction to money is the thing that all it does, like someone said, money's like alcohol. It just reveals who you really are. And a lot of them just weren't good people. As far as, because you were young, and just seeing them try to navigate the waters of going from these small club dates to Madison Square Garden at 22 years old, dude.
Almost overnight.
Almost over. They said a year ago we were doing a club, and now we're doing Madison Square Garden. It was a beautiful story. I don't know how they got the old band members to talk about it. I don't know if I'd be in a documentary over about a band that I left and just exploded.
Yeah,
or I don't know if I'd be in it.
Or even Ginger, what is her name, Canzaneri or something like that, their old manager,
dude,
who clearly had her heart broken. She had this band that she was almost the parent of.
Yes,
from the time of their inception when they started taking things really seriously. Carried them all the way through, kept a family vibe, and had them touring. You know what I mean? Like they were doing it that grassroots way that you don't really hear about anymore. Nowadays, everything just seems to be like if you're on YouTube, you're going to get picked up, and it's an overnight thing. They had to do that grassroots thing where they toured, they played for nearly empty crowds, or played in front of skinheads that weren't their type of demographic. Basically, they had to pay their dues, is what I'm getting at. And this lady kept them fine-tuned the whole way through, and I thought that was just so goddamn sad that at a certain point, once the money machine kicks in, and the record companies now realize that they're a viable
product.
Thank you, a viable product, that they just start giving them, hey, and this is what you're going to get, and let's give you starry eyes about everything. And now don't worry about it. Yeah, you're still counted too, Gina, but we're not going to really, or Ginger rather, you know what I mean? We're not going to really listen to what you have to say. You can just sort of come along with it. And basically they just phased her out because they didn't give her any opportunity to do anything. They kind of let her quit herself, really, is what it seemed like. And it was just sad. So yeah, I couldn't see her, she was almost crying talking about it in the movie. That's a long time. That's a lot of years in between that. And that still elicited that kind of emotion from her. So yeah, I'm surprised that they had these people too. Like the old band members, I could kind of see that. I mean, like the one that was just like, look, I just didn't want to go pop. That's really what it was. I just didn't want to. I was true to my punk scene, and that's where I wanted to stay. And
still was shocked that she got kicked out. She's like, and then they just freaking fought. I'm like, yeah, because you don't want to do anything that they're doing.
Yeah, that was, what was her name? I think her name was Margot, if I'm not mistaken. Margot, I think she was the bass player. But
dude,
but it was like, everything just sort of fell into place. It's like when they had one pitfall, there was like already somebody in place. Mm-hmm. Like within the same week, it seemed like, when they lost their old drummer, there was Gina Shock, their current drummer.
I love her.
She's great. I really loved her.
She is a storyteller, dude.
Yeah, she's great, man. I'm telling you, when I was a little kid and the GoGos were out, I was freaking in love with Belinda Carlisle, mm-hmm. Jane Wiedlin, and Gina Shock. I loved them in that band. And then it's just crazy to to grow up and then watch them now and how much they've changed. And it's like, people change, Steve.
They all look fantastic.
I'm not even talking about physically.
Yeah.
But I mean, in one instance I am, screw it. I'll just say it. It's like, it's really crazy how different Belinda Carlisle looks. I had such a massive crush on this woman. Even in her solo work, I was so in love with Belinda Carlisle. And yeah, I guess, I don't know. It's sad. I don't want to sound like that dick that's just like poking at someone's appearance, but self-image is a bitch sometimes. And
that's the thing.
And you know what I'm saying? And people will go through these great lengths to correct things. And it's like, does it?
Aging isn't fun in a certain industry.
Yeah, exactly. That's the thing too. It's like, it's not fair. I don't think that there's a lot of, and I think someone would make this argument for sure. Guys don't have that same treatment.
No, dude.
You don't see Sebastian Bach trying to pretty himself up. He still looks like hell. You know what I mean? But he's still out there somewhere.
George Clooney isn't worrying about aging.
Right. And it's not fair that they do that to women, that women feel that, and this is, in all aspects of entertainment, they feel like once they hit a certain point, they've essentially, and I'm not using these words like they're in the terms of their appearance, but they've kind of hit a wall.
Yes.
And they can't go any further. Maybe they feel that they can't go any further. They're led to believe this, that if they don't change their physical appearance, that they won't get work anymore, which is really fucking crazy when you consider that Belinda Carlisle's a vocalist and not an actress, or do you know what I'm saying?
Actually, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, they made her a full-on product when it came to video and everything like that. She was a beautiful woman, and they used her sexuality to help propel the Go-Go's for sure. But it's really sad what goes on later in life when people feel like they have to continue to do that sort of thing. That's self-image is just a bitch. And I'm hoping that that's not coming off in like a real asshole-ish way. But like when I saw her, I was like, wow.
I didn't know who was talking.
Oh, I've heard her talk before, so I know her voice is way different than that. But when I saw her, I was just like, wow, like she's really physically changed a lot. And that's the first thing I thought of. It's like, fuck, man, the entertainment industry is just terrible, that you can't just be yourself. You have to fit a certain image to sell product. It's weird.
Absolutely. And the interesting thing is they fired their manager at a massive point where they were very popular. They were huge. And they said, we want to go to another level. And you would think, well, what's the next level? But a lot of people don't understand that during the 80s, there were Michael Jackson and Prince and there were other rock groups that were not just filling Madison Square Garden. They were humongous. Like superstardom, even though they were superstars, they wanted to get to that superstar. Now it wouldn't be such a big deal. Now it's not whatever. It's whatever. But the 80s were a land of superstars.
Yeah, it was the age of MTV.
Yes. And so she's like, we're famous now, but we want to get famous. And a lot of people, they will not be able to wrap their mind around that when they watch the documentary. They're gonna be like, what are you talking about? We're like, no. The fame was insane at that point. Like you could be really, 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 really. We don't really like, I know that there are rock groups that were also there, but for me, I had never seen fame like Michael Jackson before. That was fame, like crazy famous. And so I think every group was like, I'm sure that their record company was like, we can get you to the point of such and such. So yeah, you're going to fire your manager. If they're like, we can make you gods. Yeah, I'm going to fire what are you going to do? You can make me bigger than this? Yeah, sure can. Are they lying? Absolutely, probably. But they're like, you give us full control and we can make you gods.
Yeah, and I'm not blaming this on Gina Shock.
No.
When it comes out this way, it may seem this way, but like I took it from watching that video, Gina Shock being the drummer, that she was always the most driven. Like she moved across the country. What did she say? She had like $1,000 and 2 grams of cocaine or something like that. And she moved across the country with the sole intent of becoming famous.
Yes.
So she had the vision from day one, right? I don't know if they all did, because they were kind of true to their punk scene. But it's like when they did that tour where Madness and the Specials took them on tour through Europe. And that's when they were playing in front of the skinheads. And they had this whole period of growth. And then they start playing these arenas. Who was it that they opened up for? Oh,
Police.
God,
The Police.
The Police. I mean, come on, man. We were just talking about the Police. You open up for the Police in the 80s? Like, what do you expect? Of course,
Dude.
That's like a drug. You're going to want that.
Exactly.
You can't go back to playing clubs after something like that. Of course, you're going to take the next step. You want to keep going. This is what you're in it for. And I just thought that it was so awesome that every time a little, like something would change, there might be like a tiny hardship where they would lose somebody or something like that, or have some type of issue within the band. But when they locked back in again, they always became stronger up to a certain point. You know what I mean? And that just kept them like that gave them that driving force. I don't know, man. Like I didn't follow the Go-Go's for all of their albums. I mean, I think Beauty and the Beat was the one I had, and then of course Vacation. But that third album I didn't really listen to at all. I think it had Head Over Heels was their single on that. But I didn't follow them too much after that. But they still had this story, and it was just so interesting to see that, like when the band starts falling apart, when Jane Wiedlin decides, like, hey man, I'm writing all these, like when the money got involved, you know what I mean? And they're like, well, okay, start paying attention to who's getting paid what for writing.
Publishing deals.
That suddenly becomes a deal. When the publishing kicks in, that becomes a certain well, not a certain. That's probably the main problem with the band at that point.
Yes.
The jealousy, the competition. Jane Whelan wants to, she's been writing all these songs for them. She's a major part of the band. You take her away, you see what happens, because at one point she does go away.
Yes.
And they're just not the same band anymore. So Jane Whelan, it was a huge part of the Go-Go's. But the moment that she wanted to step out of that guitar situation and maybe do one song, just one song that meant a lot to her to sing, that's when everything started flying, because now you have Belinda Carlisle getting threatened because she doesn't play an instrument. And they kind of alluded that she's the one that said this, but they did say something to the effect of, someone told me, well, what makes you think you're good enough to be a singer? Like, who else would say it?
Oh,
right.
They're all for sure.
They're all coked out and full of ego. Of course, the truth's going to come out, but
yeah,
they pulled it together, man. I love long-term rock and roll stories with bands where they have that struggle and personnel changes and how they get through it, loss, death, drug abuse, all of it, and then they still come out. And, I remember when they got back together, like they were showing that footage. I'm not exactly sure when it was from, but I know it was in the 2000s when they got back together. They tried to I think they did make an album, and I don't think it went anywhere. But that's going full circle right there. And I think that the way that it's a beautiful story. I love that, man. And it's, again, it's a band that I enjoy, people that I enjoy learning about, all interesting people. And I just love a good story like that, a good comeuppance, if you will. I highly recommend, if you guys are into rock docs, or if you even like the Go-Go's a little bit, or you just like a good story about the growth of the band and inner turmoil can almost destroy a band and how they keep going. It's a beautiful story. And I think that if you're into that kind of thing, you should watch this.
Absolutely.
I highly enjoyed it. Where did we watch this? It was Showtime, right?
Yes.
Yes. You can get this on Showtime. I believe I watched it on the Showtime Anytime app. And if you have a subscription, it's free. But I'm fully for this one. I'm going to go ahead and give it a very strong 4.5 out of 5. Gosh, I don't even know. I'm going to give it 4 out of 5 vacations, Steve, because I can't think of anything right now.
I love that. And also, one thing to tag along on that, a big thing is when they saw the publishing rights, that's not a normal thing. They saw the publishing results from Charlotte Caffey having written We Got the Beat. That's going, like they saw the publishing after commercials, movies used it, and they probably thought this was a check she was always getting. They looked at her check and were like, what the crap is this? That wasn't an all the time thing, but that is enough to stem something.
For sure.
That's
going to stir up trouble in the band for sure.
I'm going to want to see after that. I'm like, what does your check look like this month?
Well, who was it? It was Gina Schock and Belinda Carlisle that were getting like the short end of the stick,
Heck
right?
yeah, because they didn't write anything. And they saw Charlotte's and they were like, Jesus. But that's We Got the Beat, though.
I know, but I mean, and I see both sides of that. But could you imagine going through everything that we just talked about, all these crazy tours, just everything that they went through as a band, putting in outside of the writing, putting in as much effort as you possibly could with this band. Now, in truth, Belinda Carlisle did say, well, I was just kind of like winging it at some points. Like, I'm just a singer, and I would, like, she kind of acknowledged it. She said, I didn't even feel like it was something that I should even argue about considering what I did. But Gina Schock, who was, again, from day one, moving across the country to become famous, I could totally see how that would piss her off.
No, there's no.
But they're like, write the music, man. Write music. That's the publishing rights. That's what you need.
Yeah, and the second thing,
business side of it sucks.
That's why they said this music business. The hard thing is, and I'll leave it with this. I'm gonna give this before I say it, I'm gonna give this 4.5. I'll give this 4.5 out of 5 rotating band members. And I will say that the coldest line I've heard in a while is, she sings and I write all the songs. I was like, Jesus.
Oh, I'm glad you brought that up.
Oh,
Did you notice?
God, that was just...
Now, I'm sure that for the purposes of the documentary, they used these specific pictures because of what was said, right? But it makes me wonder, like, during that time, when they're showing like press pictures of them, the way that they were separated, songwriters on one, I don't know if you caught that. Songwriters on one side, the ones that weren't writing the songs were on the other. Like, it was a clique at that point. And I bet you that's how it was for most of the pictures. Like, they weren't getting along anymore.
Dude, you knew they weren't getting along when they get a call and like, we're having a meeting and they already are like, this isn't good. Normally you have a meeting with friends And you know it's going to be a great meeting. But when you're like, you can't do that. I write the songs and she sings. So yes, we can. I'm like, dude, that would dagger. I don't know if I'm chilling with a reunion, bruh. Like, you got to give it to the drum. You got to give it to the other members that they were able to, hey, let's put it all behind. I don't know if I'm putting that behind me, bruh.
Well, it wasn't something that happened overnight. How long was the gap? Like
That's
6 years or something like that?
They didn't talk to me. They didn't talk for 7 years.
7 years.
But then they were mad. And then again, they're like, wait a minute. They're chilling and writing songs together.
Yeah.
Gee, I'm like, I would never talk to these people again in my life, dog. Hell no, bro.
Well, I guess that's what happens when you tour with people and you go through war with them. There's got to be that. There
has to be that. That's true.
You have to be able to put that ego down.
True. And also, it's like, apart, we're not great. Together, we can feel the amphitheater. Yeah, let's do it.
Together, apes strong.
Oh, I love that movie. All right. So, yeah, 4.5. What else you got? I got a little bit of time left.
So there's other ones that we've seen, Steve, but for the sake of time, we'll just kind of stay with the ones that we've watched, okay? You told me to watch this one. You suggested I watched it, and I did check it out. And I think we should talk about #Alive next. The Korean zombie movie.
Yes.
On Netflix. Brother, I think the Koreans know how to make a zombie movie. Call me kooky.
The end.
I think they might have that shit on lock. Like, I know there's other zombie movies out there. They're coming out from all over the place. But for some reason, the Korean movies hit me right every time.
It touches my heart. Like, they know how to make a zombie movie that there's not a zombie every scene. It's just living in this world where zombies are behind you all the time. It's like there.
And Walking Dead proved that's where the interesting story is, how humans get along during the time of the apocalypse, rather, not the actual apocalypse. And I think that they did a fantastic job with this movie. I have some gripes with this one. Not huge gripes.
Absolutely.
Just a few little things where I'm like, I would have done this maybe a little bit differently, or a slight critique. But I loved it, dude. I just fucking loved this movie. I guess I'll just get away with I'll get onto like the negative stuff real quick. That way we can get off of it. I think that the way that the main character is played, who was his name? Oh Jun-woo, the way that he was played made him come off like a dummy a lot of the times.
Yeah.
But then again, if you put yourself in that situation, it seems like he was pretty well taken care of by his parents. He was an adult living with his family that pretty much looks like all he did was like game or stream or whatever it was that he did. He had a pretty simple life taken away to the point where like his parents were like, hey, get some groceries. Here's some money, get some groceries. They know that he's not going to go do this on his own. Yes. They have to tell him, here's some money, go get groceries for the house. And of course he doesn't do that either. So it's like he struck me as like a ne'er-do-well a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
And but I love the way that he navigated everything and made the situation his own, because it was his own situation. It's like he woke up one day and there's a zombie apocalypse going on.
Exactly.
He's like 15 days in. The guy has no idea what he's doing. So he starts trying different things. His choices were a little weird though. Like, let's use a drone and not charge it.
There was no electricity.
Right. So why would you use the drone? Is what I'm getting.
That's the thing.
Why not check the battery level?
Yeah.
You know? The fact that he had more than one occasion where he used a golf club as his main weapon against zombies, but they're little things.
Yeah, get some
knives.
They're little,
yeah, exactly. Get some knives. But then again, these zombies, maybe it was head trauma, because I know a few of them fall and they're out, like they're done. So are these zombies dying differently than the traditional?
Well, they're not like they're infected. So technically it's not headshots. You could just kill them.
So they're the infected. Yeah. That's where we get into that whole zombie versus the infected movie. Yeah. This is definitely an infection movie because they say it right at the top. You're right. Yeah. So like, I like that they were kind of easier to kill, but at the same time they were super threatening.
They were horrifying looking. Horrifying.
Again, dude, Korean zombie movies or infection movies know how to do that shit. They make them look legitimately scary. Whereas it's not always the case with a lot of these movies. I don't care how much flesh you have hanging off of a skull. They did something right.
I don't know what they do. I don't don't know what
bleeding
makes them
eyes.
look. Maybe that's what it is. And it's
Bleeding
the
eyes are
actors.
scary.
They take it seriously. Like when that dude is climbing the side of the building and keeps looking back, I'm like, this is horrifying.
That was brilliant because they kind of just laced that in there real quickly. Like, oh, and by the way, some of the infected are still having some of the traits that they did when they were normal.
Genius.
And to bring a fireman into
so
it, I'm like, oh,
so
of any person to be a zombie right now in this situation, a fireman that climbs buildings?
Come on, bro.
And the way that he was looking up but he was cognizant enough to still look back like,
dude.
I know. Now I know where you live and I can do this.
Jeez.
That's what was scary to me. Like, oh shit, this dude like took mental account of his apartment building and where his position is and did you not get that? Like, I'm coming for you next, dude. That's the look he gave him. I thought that shit was great.
It was very, very good. I thought it was very, very, and the fact that they introduced someone a lot of time into the movie. A lot of time.
A whole new outlook on the movie.
Bingo! I was like,
takes it a whole different direction. Yeah. And she was great for what she did. Like, she was the smart one. She was using logic. She had the laser pointer. She was able to, although he did do something cool with the drone. His second drone, where he had the little bungee, what do you call it? Like a rip line or whatever, or zip line rather. I thought that was kind of cool.
He used what he could do. He's like, what can I do really well? And how can I use what I do really well to benefit my situation? And he's a good gamer, and he used it.
I got to tell you, the dubbing was great in this one, too.
Yes.
Now, if I like to watch movies with subtitles on just because there's a lot going on in the house, I might miss something. Instead of going, hey, what did they say? It's right there on the screen. Very hard to do when the movies are dubbed. Because it's a completely different, they just write it out completely different. So that gets a bit distracting. I would suggest if you like movies with subtitles, I would probably, I mean, it's not going to ruin the movie for you, but on this one, I would probably just not watch it with the subtitles. I think that it's dubbed well enough to where you know what's going on the entire time, but it made it it took away a little bit having those extra subtitles with different meanings, and I have to kind of like process the two together just to make it make sense. Maybe that's a bit of a stretch, but you know what I'm saying.
Yeah, totally. And there's a lot of I would recommend people watching this because there's a lot of very smart things that happen. I'm not going to ruin anything, but there's a thing with him trying to distract zombies that he did in a very crunch time mode where I'm like, that is so smart. That was a smart thing to do. There are a lot of things where you're like, I wouldn't have thought of that until later getting bit. I'd be like, you know what I should have done? I should have done this. And he really was just like, he was going through his brain and searching for and then, finding out that this girl apparently is not the person you think she is. You're like, oh, wait a minute. She has a past that we don't know about because she's able to do some junk. I really liked it how they didn't make her nope. I loved it. I loved #alive.
Yeah, I did too. The other thing that I will say without giving any spoilers is getting back to how the humans process what's going on at that time, how people react, maybe with loss and what they do to have some inkling of like normalcy left in their lives. I'm referring to a gentleman on the 8th floor that assists them at a certain point. And his whole story.
I saw that coming, yeah.
I mean, I kind of did too, but at the same time, I like that they do that because it's like now it's like the whatever you want to call it a pandemic, call it an apocalypse, whatever you want to call it, has gotten this person to the point where it's like all rationality is gone.
Totally.
He's just trying to hold on to something that he remembers that's nowhere near the same. But it makes him feel better, and I like that about those movies when people kind of hit their limit and they start acting wacky just because they have no options left. I liked it, but I agree with you. I did see it coming.
And I can't say that the thing that I love about it is I'm not above that. I could see if a loved one was that, I could see myself going that far. I don't know these other people. I don't know them.
Yeah, at least I kind of know this
thing that still resembles the person I love.
Exactly. Yeah.
I don't give a daggone about you and your cereal eating behind, G. I'd feed you to my son right now. So yeah, I will give I'll give hashtag alive 4 out of 5 hanging severed hands.
I will give it 4 out of 5 zombie cops.
Oh yeah, dude. Here's another thing that this infected movie did. There was a part where I thought he was gonna save a woman, and they were like, "Yeah, no." They just slide her in. I was like, "Oh, she's dead." Like, yeah, we got you. We made you think she was gonna shoot her away. I was like, dude, they're doing the most right now, bro.
This just makes me want to watch Peninsula. I have a copy of it, and I tried watching it last night, and I'm grateful to the person that sent it to me, but it's one of those cam copies where it looks like it was shot at an angle, and you're not getting the full thing. And because I love Train to Busan so much, again, I'm very grateful to the person that sent this to me, but I think I'm just going to hold off and wait for it to come out on VOD. I can't wait to see this movie. I love Train to Busan, but I can't do it, but it really makes me want to watch it.
And Train to Busan is the best infected movie ever made. No, that's a zombie movie because they die and come back.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And there's animals too.
They are the best. I mean, it's never been done better. Never have I cried during a zombie movie. It is a perfect movie.
I still think they should not try to Americanize this movie. I haven't heard any talk about it since we talked about it a long time ago, but they should not do a remake of
Leave it to Zack Snyder.
Leave it alone, man.
Leave it to Zack Snyder. He'll try it. Oh, wait. No. He is making a zombie movie. He's making the sequel to Day of the Dead, Dawn of the Dead.
Really?
Remember he had to replace Chris D'Elia with Tig Notaro because of all the issues that Chris D'Elia had.
It has nothing to do with his recent issues, but I'm kind of glad he's not in that movie. I think that would take me out of it.
You think Tig Notaro's gonna be better? I love her stand-up, mind you. Love Tig Notaro.
I've never really seen her in any acting unless it's like her playing herself in a movie.
There like it is. Kind of thing. But dude, her Taylor Dane thing, I still listen to it ever so often. Because I'm like, man, she is brilliant.
Yeah, she's good. You like her a little better than I do. I shouldn't even say you like her better than I do. You're just more familiar with her work. But I don't know. I guess we'll see how it goes, man.
We shall see. And so what do we got next?
I'll talk about one real quick that I saw. I know you want to watch this one, and I just want to give you a little bit of encouragement to watch this movie. It's a VOD, and I think this is what kept you from renting this one. I hope this one comes out on streaming too. It's a fun movie. I can't say it's a fantastic movie, but this is if you like these kind of movies, these like thrill ride kind of movies that are they're a little out of the ordinary. They may have like the one antagonist throughout the whole movie. There's not a lot of cast in this, and what I'm talking about is Spree. Have you heard of Spree? Right?
Yes.
I'm making sure because we talked about a few that you said you were going to watch, but I think Spree was the one that you said you were kind of holding off on. This movie's directed by Eugene. Oh my God, I believe it's Kotelyarenko, also written by him. And it's, what is this? Thirsty for a following, Kurt Kunkel is a rideshare driver who has figured out a deadly plan to go viral. That's what it is. This kid has a YouTube channel that has like less than 10 people on it. And he's trying to figure out a way to get himself noticed and go viral. He ends up having a business, if you call it, I guess you would call that. He works for Spree, which is basically like an Uber or a Lyft or something like that. And he gets it into his head that he's going to wire up his car to where he's surrounded by cameras and he's just picking up people and he's doing something called the lesson. That's what it is. Like if you like hashtag the lesson, if you follow this channel, check it out. I'm going to show you what the lesson is over this course of time. And he basically just picks people up and they all meet their demise in a certain way. He's essentially a serial killer for a night. And I don't know, dude. Like I really like this guy. The guy that I'm talking about, I never even know his name. Joe Keery. That's it. He plays Kurt Kunkel. And Joe Keery is the guy that played Steve in Stranger Things.
Yeah.
I like this guy. I would be lying if I said I knew his name right off the bat, but I do enjoy his work. And he's great in this movie. He's just got the right amount of like happy-go-lucky kid with like twisted thought, murderer kind of person. No guilt involved. He's just going about, he's strictly trying to gain members and viewers for his channel. And it's really good, dude. It's like an hour and a half long, which is what I love about a lot of these movies that are coming out now, these thriller/horror movies. You can just like crank them out so quickly because they're all around 90 minutes long. But this is pretty much like a thrill ride the entire way through. I love it. I thought it was great. I'm not going to say too much about it because I want to talk about one more before we get into it. But I will highly recommend that if you like fun movies where, you're going to get some murder, man. If you're trying to cut your teeth, dip your toe in the water with movies that have to do with like slashers, killings, I don't even necessarily want to call it a horror movie because it's definitely like a dark comedy with a lot of murder in it. I think this is a great movie to get started on. Gail's one of those people. She doesn't really, I'm starting to get her into these kind of movies, and she's starting to trust me now because I've been showing her some pretty good ones lately. But this was one that she really enjoyed too. It's just a really fun movie that takes a current topic such as something like Uber and social media and turns it into this just all-out killing spree. I mean, spree's kind of twofold. The company is called Spree. The man goes on a spree. Check it out. I won't say too much about it, but I highly recommend you watch it. And I will give Spree a solid 4 out of 5 tainted waters.
Nice. All right, I'll check it out. One more for the lightning round.
So lastly, Steve, before we get going, man, you told me to watch this one. Several other people have told me to watch this one. I watched the original based on your recommendation too. And what can I say, man? They keep hitting it out of the park. We're talking about The Babysitter Killer Queen.
Yeah, dude. We watched it back to back this last weekend.
So did we.
Yeah, it was. What did you think?
Well, I've already seen it before, but Gail hadn't seen it. So back to back, not entirely true. I watched it one night after the other. But I started watching.
Yeah.
I started watching that one first, and Gail was into it. And she's like, you know what? I can clearly tell that they're taking material directly from the last one. You know what I mean? Like, I should watch this. So we ended up watching that one too, and she loved it. I really loved The Babysitter. I liked it because it was something that I really wasn't expecting, especially, I don't know when it came out, like 2 years ago, something like that. I remember us talking about it. And I remember being surprised then too, because it seemed like it should be a cheesy YA kind of a movie. And it ended up coming off with something that I just didn't expect. It also introduced me to Samara Weaving, which of course is she's one of my favorites, man. And so yeah, I really like this one. So when this one came out, I didn't really know what to expect. I knew it would be like a continuation of like, so, we have unanswered questions, but how are we going to go about it? This one to me is a bit of a different movie because it's definitely more comedic this time around. The other one had some funny parts too, but this one's definitely heavy on the comedy. It brings them some new characters and they're also heavy on the comedy, but it still has like the main theme of the movie. You have this kid. Oh, by the way, McG directs this one, but you still have this kid named Cole who's traumatized from the last movie where his babysitter ended up being part of the satanic cult who was trying to get a blood sacrifice so that her and her cult members could basically live the perfect life, the life that they've always wanted to live. One of them wanted to be famous, that kind of a thing. So this one comes out and it's got Emily Allen Lind in it. And if you don't know who that is, she was in the first one too, but she also plays, if you have seen Dr. Sleep, she is the blonde girl with the short hair that has that power to make people go to sleep. And then she does whatever she has to do to them. That's who I'm talking about. She's kind of like more of the lead in this one, outside of Cole, of course. And I really liked it. I liked where it was going, and it kind of threw me for a loop when things started kicking into gear. I didn't quite expect it to go that way. Makes sense, of course, now. But yeah, dude, I liked it. I just thought that this one was kind of where it was like in the same vein, and I was really impressed that they were able to get back literally everybody from the other movie. This one just struck me a little more on the comedy side versus the horror slasher, whatever you want to call it. Robbie Amell was great. The guy with no shirt. All of them are great. Now, I do have a question for you though, Steve. We've talked about this before. I'm wondering if you are picking up a tiny bit of the vibe of Monster Project when it comes to a certain character in this movie.
Oh, absolutely. King Batch.
His real name is King Batch?
Well, that's what he goes, but he's a Twitter. He was like a Vine star, and then he went into commercials, and yeah, his name is King Batch. I know it's something Bachelor. His real name is something Bachelor.
Okay, so he's a comedian first. An what is it, a Vine, or what'd you say?
Yeah, Vine.
Vine, okay. I don't know. Do you think they did him justice?
No.
It seems like he had a great time.
Yeah, I guess. That's the only character that took this from I'm really having a good time to it's fine. It's fine.
I just thought it was a bit much. I didn't think they needed to go quite as... Let's just put it this way.
He was a caricature.
Ain't no black dude make that decision.
No, and he was a caricature.
Like the first time I saw that, I thought the same thing. I'm thinking this time they're going to... It makes sense that they kind of just turned it up to 11 with him, but I don't know. It wasn't like I was like offended by the character or anything like that, but it kept taking me out of it because it was like everyone else, even as far-fetched as this plot is, and how these people all find their way back into the movie. Yeah, I'm still like, oh man, really? Like, give this guy a little bit more because he's funny. You know, like there's some genuinely funny. But they it was like, let's just go to the book of black stereotypes and just do all of these things. And that's where I thought that they kind of fell short. Yes. Other than that, you know, the reveal at the end was kind of cool. I kind of already given away, like they brought everyone back, but the way that they brought the person back was kind of cool, tied everything together. I was a big fan of the newest character though, Jenny Ortega, who plays Phoebe in this. Yes. Do you recognize her? Do you know what she's from?
I kept looking at her. I'm like, where do I know her from?
She's been in several things, but there's one thing in particular that I'm thinking.
What's that?
She was in it with The Rock, man. It was the football movie. The Playbook, maybe? Or the Game Plan. That's what it was. It was The Game Plan.
Oh, I never saw that.
That's the movie.
Okay.
Yeah. So she was like this adorable little kid in this movie playing his daughter, clearly grown up now. And I like it when these characters, the little kids, they come from these like sweet little characters and they end up doing something a little more extreme like this one. And I thought she was great. I thought she was a nice addition to it. I liked the way that the plot went. I liked how they sort of tied everything together and made a certain person the puppet master, if you will, of everything. Yes. You know, it's reaching a little bit, but like with a movie like this, how much are you going to really dissect?
Yeah, the kills are worth the ridiculousness. The kills are worth the ridiculousness. Now, I think it's not as smart as the first one in any stretch. It's not as smart. But it's totally watchable. And if they were like, we're going to do Babysitter 3, 4, 5, I'd be like, I'd watch it. It's watchable.
And they just might.
Yeah, it's totally watchable. It could be a series. I'm totally fine with it. And I have a feeling, according to the ending, they're going to be making another one.
Yeah, I think that Netflix is smart and they're just going to keep running these until people are like, okay, I'm done. But
that's it. Which will never happen.
They left it completely open, but I get the feeling that if it happens this time, it's going to be a completely different cast, and that's usually where they screw up.
I mean, Mick G's, he's hit and miss, so he may very well screw up even if they do get the same cast.
That's true. Yeah.
What would you rate this movie?
Like I said, I enjoyed it. I enjoyed them both very much. I think they make a fine set together, but as a movie standing alone on its own, I'm going to give it 3 out of 5 beheading surfboards.
I love that. I'm going to give this thing a 3 out of 5 colorful Camaros.
That was a dope Camaro. I don't care how gaudy that thing is. I'd drive the shit out of it.
I would not drive that thing, homie. I'm sorry.
I would. I'd be, look at me. I'm not saying I'd be like, look how awesome I look. I would just drive it for the attention.
Gee, if you were like, hey, Steve, check out my new car. I went over there, dude, listen. I'd be like, are you okay?
Would you get in the car and take a ride with me?
Yes, I would. But I'd be like, all right, is this a midlife thing?
Yes. 100%.
Okay, well, then that's what let's go, then.
Right? I mean, that's how they made this car out to be in the movie, too. Yes. A total midlife crisis.
Then we should move. Then I'd be like, let's go ahead then. Let's go. As long as you're conscious of this. But, so yeah, that's, ladies and gentlemen, that is a Heroes of Noise for the day. I'm going to get out of here. Dan has a DDP to get into. He has to do his yoga, gripping the wonderful pads with his toes and such. The bro yoga, the broga. Can I call it broga?
Oh, now it's broga. Now you're gonna make fun of it. I just hope that first broga. D came out. Doesn't come out like, hey, Dan's getting ready to get into a DP situation here.
Dan's doing his broga.
Yeah, man. Why you got to talk about like that, man? Why you got to step on my toes right now? Dude?
You're gripping toes.
You see what he's doing? This is how when your friends want to discourage you.
I think it's wonderful. But go ahead and handle your yoga. I love you all. Whoever sent that song, I can't wait for you to tell me who you are.
Show yourself.
Yeah, show yourself and send more stuff as long as you tell you who you are. I love you guys. Peace out.
All right, that's the show this week, ladies and gentlemen. We'll be back. We have a Patreon show to do, so anyone that has a Patreon membership with us, just know that that's going to be coming real soon, hopefully sooner than later. My name is Dan Ramirez. For Steve Hudson, we are the Heroes of Noise. Be good to yourselves. Be good to the people around you. Peace.